Chapter 237. After Captain Li Sun's humorous speech, he successfully turned his attention to Xueqi. Xueqi was slender and graceful. Looking down with a smile, she looked elegant and noble. Her light golden dress accentuated her figure to the fullest. The dress was conservative but not stiff, formal but not deliberate. She looked energetic in it. Polite words were just polite words after all. What could a little girl say? She must have prepared a draft and just recited it when the time came. There were more than one or two people who thought so. Almost everyone did not have any hope. However, as soon as Xueqi spoke, she attracted the attention of the people around her. The reporters broadcasted the scene on Weibo. Xueqi's speech, posture, smile and temperament were all praised by netizens. Old Master Li Sun clearly sensed that the crowd's initial disdain had turned into focus and admiration. He was very proud of himself. She was his granddaughter-in-law. He chose her himself. Humph. After Xueqi said that, the surrounding lights suddenly dimmed, and the big screen on the stage where Xueqi was standing suddenly lit up. Melodious piano music appeared, mellow and sad. Xueqi was dazed. This music was elegy. Looking back, she saw a photo on the big screen. In the photo, an elegant white grand piano was placed under layers of wisteria. Golden sunlight shone through the gaps of the wisteria, embellishing the piano with gold. A girl in white was sitting in front of the piano, playing with her eyes down. Her face was a bit wet. And just behind the girl, a tall and straight figure stood behind, looking at the girl with soft eyes. Seeing such a scene, many people were slightly surprised. Especially Ming, sitting below, shaking the wine glass in his hand. He couldn't help but complain, "Damn, that guy Li Xiqing really likes his wife. What about the divorce? What about the contract?" Ming touched his nose and turned to look at Yu Lily. Yu Lily looked at Xueqi's slender figure with envy in her eyes. Xueqi's life was really good. The melodious piano music continued, but the picture had changed. High in the sky, Li Xiqing kissed her with tenderness in his eyes. Xueqi's eyes were wide open. Obviously, she had been kissed secretly. On the beach, Xueqi's face was held, her lips sucked, and her cheeks were red. At the underwater restaurant, she put her hand on his shoulder and looked up at him. Her eyes were filled with happiness. One by one, the pictures flashed past, causing the surrounding reporters to exclaim that they were showing off their love. Seeing that, Tang Menjing's nails almost dug into her arms. Damn it! Tang Mengqing could not stand it anymore. Why does Li Xiqing like her so much? I don't like it. Tang Menjing snorted. He can't like her. If he liked Xueqi, he would never touch me. The baby in my belly is the best evidence. Tang Mengqing was a bit unsure. Looking at the images, Li Xiqing's expression looked so real and vivid. Could it be that it was all an act? He only wanted to do it for the old man to see. The old man forced him so much. Tang Mengqing was relieved. What should we do now? Chapter 238. What the? Mr. Li is so handsome. Xueqi is so lucky to have such a man. Xueqi is so lucky to have such a man. Xueqi's classmates all exclaimed, full of envy and jealousy. On the big screen, the image changed again, and a face appeared. Ah, Li Xiqing so handsome. Li Xiqing appeared on the big screen with the same cold face. There was no expression on his face, but his slightly soft eyes showed that he was in a good mood. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to my wife's press conference. I am Li Xiqing. His voice was deep and mellow. It was an extremely pleasant and moving voice. Seeing his face, Xueqi's heart raced. Wow, really handsome. And really, really handsome. Xueqi blushed, looking at the screen behind her. She knew that this was recorded by Li Xiqing in advance. Looking at the background, it should have been recorded in the United States. When the time comes, we will have a grand wedding. I hope you can come again. Thank you. Li Xiqing had always been a person who knew how to say nice things. This kind of thing was said by him like a news anchor. Xueqi couldn't help laughing. Looking up at his face, she felt sweet inside. What should she do? She felt so happy that she could die. She thought that after Li Xiqing said that, it would be the end. Unexpectedly, the expression on his face became softer. just like when he was facing her. He said, "Finally, thank you to my wife, waiting for me to come back." Wife? Well, it felt good. "I will wait for you," Xueqi responded in a low voice, not noticing that there was a microphone in front of her. Her voice was clearly heard in the room. On the screen, Li Xiqing paused and finally said, "Love you." The room was in an uproar. How could Li Xiqing say such sarcastic words? Hearing this, the people around them wanted to scratch the wall and kill themselves. Dog abuse, dog abuse. God, the world is crazy. Oh Ming almost ate his wine glass. Did he see a ghost? When I saw it, I had the same reaction. Opposite Oh Ming sat a young man. Because of the occasion, he was wearing a suit and leather shoes, which was rare. A pair of peach blossom eyes stared at the computer placed in front of him. His fingers gently moved as he let out a long sigh. This brat left a mess for me to clean up. He's too much. Tisk, tisk. Oh Ming didn't give him a good look. I heard that you extorted a lot of money from Lao Air. You're just doing something and you're complaining. If I were Lao Air, I would kill you. Luo Zhan chuckled. If you don't point it out, you're still a good brother. As he spoke, he pressed the enter key on the keyboard and nodded in satisfaction. Done, my mission is complete. Another 10 million. Yu Lily spat out a mouthful of wine. 10 million. Damn, she really didn't understand the world of the rich. So what if he couldn't be there? He could just arrange for an assistant to help him play the video. Did they have to invite such an expensive person just to play a video? A sky-high price for a video. Yu Lily couldn't understand. Just when all kinds of dogs were being abused, a beautiful female voice came from all directions to everyone's ears. Originally on this day, I should not reveal the truth. Hearing that, everyone looked for the source of the voice and finally found a slender figure at the end of the crowd. Holding the microphone, Tang Menjing walked up under everyone's gaze. Many people recognized her. Back then, Tang Menjing used to be Li Xiqing's secretary. But later, no one knew when she left Li's group. At this moment, Tang Menjing looked righteous. Looking at Xueqi, she said word by word, "But I can't help it. Mr. Li is the person I admire and like the most. I can't stand him being deceived by such a woman. Today, I will reveal the true face of this woman." The crowd was in an uproar. The true face. Chapter 239. The big screen that was fixed on Li Xiqing's handsome face suddenly flickered and gradually dimmed. This kind of light, in the venue where the lights had not yet been restored, created a kind of mysterious atmosphere. Everyone looked over. Suddenly, a scream rang out from the speakers in all directions. The scream caught everyone off guard. Everyone was startled, but Tang Menjing looked more and more smug. Seeing Xueqi looking at her in shock, Tang Menjing pointed at the ground and mouthed to her, "Go to hell." Xueqi looked at Tang Menjing's confident look and felt sympathetic. Finally, looking at Tang Menjing's smug look, she slowly smiled. In her smile, there was sarcasm, sympathy, and boundless hatred. Coldness instantly filled her eyes. Coldness, as if from the boundless hell, was transmitted from Xueqi's eyes to Tang Menjing's heart. Tang Menjing was startled. Seeing Xueqi's extremely cold smile, the smile on her face disappeared. Still so arrogant at the brink of death. When the video gets to the point, I'll see how you deal with it. Feeling resentful, Tang Menjing looked away from Xueqi's face and fell on the big screen. On the big screen, several men pushed a woman to the corner. The leading man directly lunged at her, and the other men around him were also tempted. Such a shocking scene made everyone's eyes widen. That woman is Mrs. Li? I did not expect Mrs. Li to be so open. No, that does not seem to be Mrs. Li. The woman's face was gradually shown in close-up. Her facial features were exquisite, and she looked flirtatious and elegant, which was obviously different from Xueqi's charming appearance. This face was clearly... Isn't that Secretary Tang? Someone exclaimed. Everyone's eyes fell on Tang Menjing. Tang Menjing felt like she was struck by lightning and suddenly froze. Looking at the video that she had asked someone to edit, she had personally directed every detail and process. If one did not watch it carefully, they would never be able to tell that the video was edited. She was sure that with this video, Xueqi would not be able to explain herself even if she had 10 mouths. However, when she was the protagonist of the video that had boosted her confidence, she was dumbfounded. How is this possible? How could this be? Wasn't that supposed to be Xueqi's face? However, every detail on the video was so vivid, as if it was really her NPC that had been secretly filmed. Xueqi looked at Tang Menjing from afar and said coldly into the microphone, "Didn't you say that you were going to reveal my true colors? Could it be that this is my true face?" Tang Menjing's face was pale. Looking at the big screen, she felt a chill running down her spine. "It's not me, it's not me." Tang Menjing felt cold all over. "Xueqi, it was Xueqi who wanted to hurt me. Why did you hurt me?" Before he could finish his sentence, the scene changed. Chapter 240. Tang Menjing's voice was hesitant. "But. No buts. Be smart. Xueqi, that be *TCH. So what if the old man likes her? I am still Qin Shuhua's favorite. When the old man is dead, we will have a lot of fun." When the old man was dead. This old man was referring to Old Master Li Sun. Standing on the stage, Captain Li looked at Tang Menjing with disgust and disdain in his cloudy eyes. Tang Menjing seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Li Sun had always known that this girl was not a kind person, but he did not expect that she was so vicious that she always wanted him dead. Just because Qin Shuhua liked her, she wanted to marry into the Li family? Not to mention that Li Sun was still alive. Even if he was dead, he would not let the Tang family take the position of the second wife of the Li family. Condemnation, disgust, disdain, disappointment, and disbelief were all focused in one direction. Tang Menjing clearly felt the eyes of the people around her, and she stepped back and back. Her beautiful face was deathly pale. Her body trembled slightly as she murmured, "It's not me, it's not me. Why did you frame me?" No one sympathized with her. On the screen was still a photo of Tang Menjing and Tang Menjing. In the speakers their voices continued. "So what? If I can't get her this time, I will wait for the next time. Didn't the old man hold a press conference for her? Let's do it. At that time, I will give them a big gift. I still have a trump card. Xueqi, what does she have to compete with me?" "What gift?" Tang Menjing asked curiously. "You will know." Suddenly, the phone rang. Tang Menjing said, "I have to take a call. You go out first." "You are so cautious even about your own sister." Yu Lily's voice was particularly loud in the quiet hall. However, this sound was like a small stone thrown into the lake. It immediately startled the originally quiet fish at the bottom of the lake, and the surrounding people began to whisper, "This Tang Menjing is so scary. Isn't it said that the eldest daughter of the Tang family is well-educated, gentle and kind-hearted?" Kind-hearted as hell. How did Mrs. Li offend Tang? Not only did she kill her child, but she also wants to humiliate her on such an occasion. If she succeeds, Mrs. Li will be too ashamed to see others in the future. The whispers grew louder and louder. Tang Menjing's face became paler and paler, and her legs became weaker and weaker. It can't be like this, it can't be like this. She had clearly arranged everything. She had clearly deployed everything long ago. Things should develop according to her plan, right? Why was it like this? Why? Tang Menjing was puzzled and looked at Xueqi. Xueqi's eyes fell on a corner. In that corner, O Ming and Luo Zhan were sitting together. Luo Zhan? Yes, Luo Zhan. Tang Menjing was suddenly enlightened, feeling hopeless. Luo Zhan was one of Li Xiqing's few friends and one of the top hackers in the industry. Only Li Xiqing could have the face and money to hire him. In other words, what happened today was actually arranged by Li Xiqing. Chapter 241. The plane from New York to Kingstown Airport landed at 20:48 a.m. Beijing time. Yu Lily finally understood why Li Xiqing gave Luo Zhan the 10 million yuan. 10 million. However, since Tang Menjing could reap what she had sown, the 10 million was well worth it. She was secretly shocked by Li Xiqing's means and envious of Xueqi. She had such a man who loved her, and a male best friend who protected her so much. Xueqi's fate was much better than hers. And she. Looking at O Ming, Yu Lily felt unspeakable bitterness in her heart. Between people, there could really be such a big gap, such a big gap. O Ming was talking to Luo Zhan. He seemed to feel Yu Lily's gaze and looked over. Seeing her obviously unhappy face, he slightly approached and asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Yu Lily pursed her lips and decided to ignore him. Ming raised his eyebrows, feeling a little inexplicable. He cheekily approached her and kissed her on the cheek. "Not happy?" Yu Lily looked disgusted and wiped her lips with her hand. "Is it dirty?" "It's not like I haven't tried dirtier things." Ming curled his lips. "Let's try it later?" "Go away." Yu Lily felt disgusted. This man was so disgusting. Obscene. Shameless. Ming narrowed his eyes. Without saying a word, he put his arm around her waist and forced her to sit next to him. They put the two chairs next to each other, and the two of them leaned against each other intimately. Yu Lily wanted to escape, but Ming quickly held her down and whispered, "If you run away once, I will do it 10 times tonight." "You try." His voice was evil, with a warning that could not be ignored. She knew that he was absolutely not joking. Yu Lily suddenly became quiet. Suddenly thinking of something, she asked, "What if I don't run away?" "Then do it once." But for how long he did not know. Yu Lily did not know what he was thinking and was held by him obediently. Ming was very satisfied and considerately helped her with the dishes. "Let's eat." "Oh." Tang Menjing couldn't stand it anymore and sat on the ground. The floor was covered with a thick carpet. It wouldn't hurt if he fell on his butt, but it was extremely embarrassing. Tang Menjing wanted to stand up, but her legs were weak. "Oh, my daughter." A crying voice came from afar. A slightly fat middle-aged woman ran over, crying. Seeing Tang Menjing sitting on the ground, she shouted, "My daughter, why are you sitting on the ground? You are hurting the baby in your belly." This sound was more like a bomb that startled the entire place, causing an uproar in the crowd. The child in her belly? Tang Menjing was pregnant? Mrs. Tang ran over and helped Tang Menjing up. She grabbed the microphone that Tang Menjing had dropped on the ground and shouted, "Qin Shuhua, come out. Let's have a talk." Qin Shuhua was the name of Li Xiqing's mother. "Your second son got my daughter pregnant. Don't you have to take responsibility?" Mrs. Tang's voice was so loud that it was deafening. Qin Shuhua was chatting with a group of relatives and friends in the inner room, not noticing the chaos outside. Hearing the noise, she ran out and saw Tang Menjing in a daze. Feeling heartbroken, she hurried over and asked, "What happened?" Chapter 242. Mrs. Tang's voice was very loud. She did not know what it meant to be low-key. In front of everyone, he boldly claimed that his own daughter was the mother of the eldest grandson of the Li clan. What a scandal! Since ancient times, the first requirement to become the eldest son of the eldest grandson was the status. And now, even if the child in Tang Menjing's belly was really Li Xiqing's, it could only be regarded as an illegitimate child. The status was not legitimate. Where did the eldest grandson come from? Everyone was amazed by Mrs. Tang's cheekiness. Looking at each other, they did not forget to look at Xueqi. Compared with Tang Menjing's embarrassment and Mrs. Tang's arrogance, Xueqi looked natural and graceful. Standing on the stage, her temperament was extraordinary. Although her expression was cold, she had an inexplicable charm. No wonder Captain Li chose Mrs. Li instead of Miss Tang. Someone in the crowd said this, and those who wanted to please the Li family immediately echoed, their voices getting louder and louder. Tang Menjing suddenly looked up, grabbed Qin Shuhua with both hands and cried, "Auntie, auntie." Then she burst into tears. "I know you love me the most. I know I have embarrassed you, but the child is innocent. The child in my belly is really Brother Xiqing's. You watched me grow up. Please believe me." Qin Shuhua had always liked this girl. Not only because Tang Menjing was smart and capable, but also because she had always been gentle and considerate in front of Qin Shuhua. Having watched her grow up, Qin Shuhua thought she knew her very well. Such a child would not lie to her. Hearing Tang Menjing's words, Qin Shuhua felt pity and held her. Before she said anything, she heard an authoritative voice. "Shuhua, come here." The voice was old and deep, authoritative without being angry. Qin Shuhua looked at Captain Li and then at Tang Menjing, feeling a bit embarrassed. Tang Menjing grabbed her arm and knelt on the ground. "The child is more than 3 months old. It is a boy." "Auntie." Hearing that, Xueqi felt a bit suffocated. More than 3 months. It was also more than 3 months since the last time they went to Australia on a business trip. That meant she was pregnant at that time. Looking at Tang Menjing's expression, it did not seem to be fake. And that phone call. His heart was gripped tightly. She stood there, looking in that direction, and gradually clenched her fists. Captain Li clearly noticed Xueqi's emotional change. He reached out and put his hand on her shoulder. That boy won't. No one knew Li Xiqing better than him. The boy's character was too similar to his. He would never do such a thing. Captain Li was very sure. Xueqi nodded and felt reassured. Yes, he was not that kind of person. Menjing, please get up first. Let's talk when Xiqing comes back, okay? Qin Shuhua felt sorry for Tang Menjing since they were both friends. If she had been more insistent, Li Xiqing would not have married her. Tang Menjing cried even louder and said, "If you don't believe me, I won't get up. The baby in my belly is really Brother Xiqing's." It's true. Is that so? A cold voice passed through the crowd and came from afar. Everyone turned to the source of the voice and saw a tall, travel-worn figure standing at the entrance of the venue. Chapter 243. The man was tall and straight, tall and handsome. Just by standing there, he had an irresistible charm. He stepped into the hall, expressionless and dressed formally. He seemed to be surrounded by a cold aura. However, when Xueqi saw that figure, there seemed to be something in her heart that was quickly fermenting and out of control. The bitterness and sweetness suddenly converged in her heart and turned into a strong sense of joy, directing her to run in that direction. Seeing her, Li Xiqing's cold eyes softened a bit and he opened his arms to her. Xueqi directly ran into his arms and hugged him tightly. The warm embrace made the coldness in Li Xiqing's eyes dissipate a bit. Xueqi hugged him and said happily, "You're back." "Yes, I'm back." His voice was deep and mellow, like the sound of a top-notch cello being played slowly. Xueqi hugged him and looked up at his face. Li Xiqing seemed to be very tired recently. His originally clean eyes were blue. In just a few days in the United States, his face seemed to be sharper and colder. He had lost a lot of weight. Xueqi felt sorry for him and stroked his face. "Are you very tired?" Li Xiqing held her hand and kissed it gently. "I don't feel tired when I see you." "Oh!" Captain Li exclaimed with a serious face. "Young man, be careful." As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding people couldn't help but chuckle. "Tisk, tisk. It hurts my eyes." Luo Zhan looked resentful. "Brother, it's inhumane to show off to a dog. Do you know that? What a show of affection." O Ming was secretly jealous and looked at Yu Lily. "Let's do it too." Yu Lily slapped him away. "Get out." Mrs. Tang was furious. With her hands on her hips, she picked up the microphone and shouted, "Li Xiqing, you're back at the right time. Let's talk about what you mean." Li Xiqing narrowed his eyes and pulled Xueqi closer. Seeing Mrs. Tang's reaction, Qin Shuhua pulled her son and said, "It's time to talk. What's going on with you? Why is Tang Menjing suddenly pregnant?" Qin Shuhua's attitude was undoubtedly clear. She trusted Tang Menjing. Captain Li's face darkened. He yelled, "Shuhua, get out of the way. Let Xiqing handle this himself." "But, come back." Qin Shuhua fell silent and walked toward Captain Li. "Brother Xiqing." Seeing that Xueqi and Li Xiqing were so close, Tang Menjing was extremely jealous. However, she still pretended to be pitiful and looked at Li Xiqing. "I'm sorry. I should not have kept the baby without telling you." Yes." He looked at her coldly without any warmth in his eyes. "You can keep your child if you want." Tang Menjing gritted her teeth, stood up and said, "This is also your child. You are the father of the child, aren't you?" Li Xiqing suddenly smiled. His smile was like a flash in the pan, eye-catching. Regardless of whether it was the Li clan, the Tang clan, or the guests who had come to attend the meet and greet today, they were all baffled. However, although Li Xiqing was smiling, his smile was as cold as the wind. Chapter 244. Li Xiqing slowly said, "When I was 18 at my birthday party, you pretended to be drunk and climbed into my bed, trying to seduce me. I asked Lu Sa to send you back. After that, I did not say a word to anyone else. It had been 8 years since she was 18. Tang Menjing's face turned pale, not knowing why he would suddenly bring up the past. When I was 20, you pretended to sprain your ankle and asked me to send you home, but you deliberately claimed that you were my girlfriend, making my mother think that we were close. I did not clarify it and kept my distance from you. Last year, I went on a business trip to Australia. At a party, you deliberately asked your male classmate to provoke me, wanting me to fight with him for you. After that failed, you sent someone to block my car, just to get me to give you an explanation. This year on my wedding night, you drugged me and tried to seduce me into your room. After you failed, you framed my wife, trying to make me hate her and distance myself from her. After that, you deliberately came to my door to remind me. I just didn't want to pursue the matter. The more Tang Menjing listened, the paler her face became. It turned out that he knew everything. But why? How did he know that? She had done it so discreetly. F***me. That's too shameless. You Lily shouted loudly, and many people chimed in. Mr. Li would never lie, and this woman did not deny it at all. What happened to being a well-bred lady? What happened to being intellectual and generous? You can't judge a book by its cover. It really does seem to be the case. Tang Menjing's body became cold, and her face became pale. He looked at her coldly from the corner of his eyes and said coldly, "A few months ago, you hired someone to instruct Coach Jean to violate my wife, causing my first child to be aborted before it was even discovered." Tang Menjing almost fell, but Mrs. Tang caught her in time. As if he did not notice her emotional breakdown, he continued, 3 months ago, on a business trip to Australia, you got drunk and tried to seduce me to stay with you. You tried to drag me into your room. I was in a hurry to go back to China, so I asked Chengyu to help you sober up. However, you drove her away and went into a room with a strange man. As soon as he said that, the crowd went into an uproar. 3 months ago, and Tang Menjing's baby was 3 months old, which meant nonsense. Tang Menjing was hysterical. It's you. It's you. I'll know it's you even if you turn into ashes. Don't try to lie to me. Li Xiqing curled his lips. I was already on the plane back home. How could I have a child with you? No, no. Tang Menjing looked like she was in pain, but her tone was firm. It is you. Except for you, I will not be with any other man. Tang Menjing sobbed and begged. Brother Xiqing, please let them go first. We can talk in private, okay? Too many things were involved in this matter. Tang Menjing was scared. Tang Zhenghao couldn't afford to lose face. There were so many reporters around, and the gossip must have spread. She had to stop the situation before it was over. However, Li Xiqing did not cooperate with her. Chapter 245. Tang Menjing could not hold it anymore and burst into tears. Nothing was more painful than being rejected by the one you loved. There was nothing more terrifying than having one's dignity crushed in front of everyone. She was still pregnant with his child. She was pregnant with his child. Tang Menjing cried, which made many soft-hearted women sympathize with her. However, there must be something hateful about a poor person, someone in the crowd said. Tang Menjing cried even louder. Brother Xiqing, it doesn't matter if you don't want to admit it. The baby in my belly is the flesh and blood of the Li family. He is your son. No matter how much you hate me and don't want to talk to me, this is an undeniable fact. This is Li Xiqing's first child, his first son. Your eldest son. Xueqi held Li Xiqing's hand tightly, feeling a bit uneasy. She looked up at him. Was what Tang Menjing said true? Li Xiqing noticed her little movement, held her hand tightly and whispered, "Do you believe me?" His voice was very low. Only the two of them could hear it. Xueqi looked at his cold and calm face, feeling a bit absent-minded. In her mind, the ambiguous voice on the phone kept echoing. With Tang Menjing's obsession with Li Xiqing, it was impossible for her to fool around outside. Xueqi firmly believed that. However, Li Xiqing said it was not true. Who was telling the truth? Do you believe me? Do you? Don't you? Li Xiqing's eyes dimmed. Xueqi was silent for a few seconds and nodded. I believe you. She had to believe him. As long as she believed it, he was not, wasn't he? Xueqi held his hand tightly, looked up at Tang Menjing, and said loudly, "Then, let's do a DNA test." Yes or no, they would know after a test. Nothing is more convincing than the truth, isn't it? Luo Zhan heard that and clapped his hands. Blood test. We will know after a test. If our second son liked you, how could he have married our sister-in-law? The truth always hurt. There was resentment in Tang Menjing's eyes. Seeing Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing holding hands, she couldn't help feeling jealous. Originally, this should have belonged to her. She should be the one who was publicly despised and humiliated. Oh, my daughter! Mrs. Tang cried out. Why did I end up with such a bad man? He looks like a decent man, but in fact, he abandoned me. He's so shameless. You can't talk nonsense like that. Oh Ming finally spoke. His tall figure came into view, and the corners of his eyes were slightly raised. No one knows better than me what kind of person Li Xiqing is. Are you afraid to let your daughter do a DNA test? Su Qianxi asked. Yeah, you don't dare anymore, right? Tisk. TSK. She's asking for it. She just got pregnant and blamed it on Li Xiqing. It's terrible. Li Xiqing is so miserable. Well, I knew Miss Tang loves Mr. Li. Tang Menjing covered her belly and cried even harder. Li Xiqing, you don't want your child, but I do. What do you mean? You don't dare to do a test? You're afraid of being exposed. With tears in her eyes, Tang Menjing stared at Su Qianxi and yelled, The child has not been born yet. How can we do a test? Chapter 246. Su Qianxi's voice was surprisingly calm, and her expression was indifferent. Her posture and dark eyes were full of hatred and indifference. Looking at Su Qianxi, Tang Menjing had a strange feeling. Was this really Su Qianxi? She had changed so much. In the past, although Su Qianxi was unruly and ill-mannered, she was very timid. Standing in front of so many people, it was difficult for her to even stand, let alone speak. Now, Su Qianxi did not have any stage fright at all. Her temperament and expression were more than different from before. It was like she was a different person. It was like another Li Xiqing. Tang Menjing was a bit shocked. Looking away, she blurted out, No! You Lily sneered. You don't dare, do you? Luo Zhan shook his head. Miss Tang, I did not expect you to be this kind of person. Just because you are pregnant, you blame it on Li Xiqing. That's so mean. You will be sentenced for slander. Tang Menjing gritted her teeth, looked around and said, The fetus is only 3 months old. Amniocentesis? You are forcing me to abort him. Her voice was almost roaring, and then it turned into a wail. Li Xiqing, no matter whether you admit this child or not, I will have this child. This is the child of the Li family, the flesh and blood of the Li family. You can never change that. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone around him fell silent. Amniocentesis had a certain degree of risk. Generally, 4 to 8 months was the best choice. Almost no mother was willing to do this unless it was necessary. However, in this case, could she not do it? Chang Yu, Li Xiqing said coldly. Chang Yu shivered and quickly walked up. I'm here. Contact a psychiatrist to take a good look at Miss Tang. As soon as the indifferent voice fell, there was even more silence. Chang Yu immediately picked up her phone and began to look for her contact list. The surroundings were silent. Suddenly, someone said, Are you really contacting him? Li Xiqing squinted at that person and said coldly, Li Xiqing, never joke. Li Xiqing, you bastard. Mrs. Tang screamed. You are the psycho. You are the psycho. Abandonment at the beginning, pulling out the Diao heartless, bah. Do you really think that the Li family is a big family? Do you really need the Tang family to climb up the social ladder like this? Shameless. Shameless. Mrs. Tang's angry voice was the loudest in the room. You have the guts to sleep with me, but you don't have the guts to admit it. B** stards. A house full of B** stards. Su Qianxi is cheap, and you are also cheap. Bitch couple. Shut up. Li Xiqing's aura suddenly plummeted. Being yelled at like this, Mrs. Tang, who had been like a wild horse, suddenly stopped. She stuttered. What? What? Am I wrong? You are a jerk. TSK, a rich wife? So uncultured. Yeah, you don't dare to do a DNA test because you have a guilty conscience. I've worked with Mr. Li for so many years. We all know what kind of person he is. Yes. Humph. Tang Menjing sneered with red eyes. I will not use my child's life for your experiment. He is his child. That is for sure. Or we can try another way, Oming suggested. What way? A lie detector. He looked at Tang Menjing. Do you dare? Chapter 247. Yes, why wouldn't I? Mrs. Tang immediately shouted. My Tang Menjing has only had one man. She's not like that bitch. She's always been with other men. It's a good thing she lost the baby. Otherwise, the baby wouldn't even know who the father is. Hearing that, Xueqi was furious. When she was about to retort, she heard someone yell behind her, "Watch your mouth!" Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw Song Yifan walking out with a gloomy face. With such manners, no wonder you have such a shameless daughter. Hearing Song Yifan's words, Mrs. Tang was also enraged. She yelled, "Who do you think you are? My daughter is at least polite. She is a bastard whose parents do not even know where she is." Song Yifan was so angry that he almost hit Mrs. Tang. Instinctively, he retorted, "Who said that? I am her father." As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of breathing could be heard from the surroundings. Xueqi was also dazed, looking at Song Yifan. After Song Yifan said that, he suddenly felt that it was inappropriate. However, looking at Xueqi's shocked eyes, he felt a bit happy and said, "I, Song Yifan, am Xueqi's father. No matter if she recognizes me or not, she is my daughter." Damn, that's crazy. Luo Zhan was the first to yell. Even the business tycoons who were used to seeing a storm felt it was a bit unbelievable. With Song Yifan's current fame and reputation, it was obviously unwise for him to suddenly have an affair with an illegitimate daughter. At the very least, his reputation would be shaken, and at the very worst, his reputation would be ruined. Everything he had worked so hard for over the years could be ruined because of this. Crazy, this was crazy. No wonder Song Yifan would lead his band to this performance. It turned out that there was another reason behind it. Song Yifan did not seem to notice the shock he had caused. With a warning tone, he stared at Mrs. Tang and said, "Whoever dares to bully my daughter will have to go through me first." Mrs. Tang was startled by his attitude and was speechless for a moment. The surrounding reporters immediately buzzed like flies, fighting to be the first to spread this explosive news. Within a few minutes, a resounding new title appeared on Weibo. A shocking reversal. The famous pianist Song Yifan is the father-in-law of the Li family? Li Xiqing, I only have one question for you. What is your relationship with Tang Menjing? Song Yifan sounded very tough. Does her child have anything to do with you? More than 100 eyes fell on them. Li Xiqing looked calm and said firmly, "It's okay." It was the expected answer. She held his hand, but he gently pulled her into his arms. Leaning against his chest, she clearly felt his chest vibrate. His deep and mellow voice came slowly. "I, Li Xiqing, have only had one woman." Bah! Mrs. Tang was furious. She rushed up and slapped Mrs. Tang. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened, and he moved sideways to protect her. But she was slapped in the back. The dull sound seemed to have hit her heart, making her tremble. Mrs. Tang missed and was furious. She tried to slap Xueqi again. However, Li Xiqing caught her hand and gave her a cold look. Pa! Chapter 248. How dare you hit me? Mrs. Tang screamed in shock, and subconsciously wanted to hit back. However, before she could do anything, Li Xiqing pushed her hand away. Mrs. Tang stumbled back a few steps and almost fell. Standing still, she looked at Li Xiqing and Xueqi in disbelief. Mrs. Tang was exasperated. "I am your elder, and this is how you treat your elders." With a slap and a shove, Mrs. Tang suddenly felt humiliated. How could these two youngsters treat her like this? Elder. Xueqi looked contemptuous. An elder that the youngsters admire is called an elder. You are an old hooligan. Great. A sudden cheer came from the crowd. Old Master Li's eyes were also filled with satisfaction. He praised. Well said. With Captain Li taking the lead, more and more people followed suit. Mrs. Tang's face turned pale as she gritted her teeth. Don't go too far. A voice came. Looking back, Tang Menjing was furious, but she suddenly frowned. His face turned pale without warning, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. As he spoke, he was already half bent over. Mom, my stomach hurts. When Tang Menjing was sent to the hospital, no one from the Li family went there. Mrs. Tang was swearing in the hospital. When Tang Zhenghao arrived, he heard his wife swearing. He was so angry that he slapped her hard in the face. Shame on you! Who asked you to go to that kind of place? How stupid! Tang Zhenghao was furious. I really regret letting you marry into the Tang family. You three are a disgrace to the Tang family. Being slapped, Mrs. Tang was dazed at first and then cried hysterically. Your daughter and wife were bullied, and you did not let us bully them. Why did you come back to hit your wife? Tang Zhenghao, you bastard! Shut up! Tang Zhenghao's face was dark. Idiot! Who asked you to go to that kind of place? Do you still remember what you wrote about us on Weibo? Both daughters of the Tang family got pregnant before marriage because of heredity. What is written here? Look at it yourself. Mrs. Tang was so scared that she didn't even dare to cry. She put a hand over her mouth and stopped crying. Because of this, the company's stock price has plummeted. In less than 3 hours, the loss is more than the previous failed investment I invested in. It's all because of you. Then what should we do now? Tell me, is Menjing really pregnant with Li Xiqing's child? Absolutely. Hearing the affirmative answer, Tang Zhenghao's expression softened. That's easy. The most important thing now is to protect this child. Then, there was a fierce look in his eyes. Li Xiqing wants to destroy my company, but he is still too young. Mrs. Tang was startled. You mean, Li Xiqing did this? Tang Zhenghao was a little exasperated. He gritted his teeth and said, that boy has always been competing with us, but he has no reason to deal with us. Now our backyard is on fire, and he has delivered himself to us. Mrs. Tang felt even more guilty and didn't dare to speak. Chapter 249. The meet and greet session ended quickly. Captain Li, Qin Shuhua, and other relatives went back together, and the other guests had left. O Ming, Yu Lily, Luo Zhan, and Cheng Yu stayed and found a clean room to sit down with the couple. Cheng Yu, help Luo Zhan find the hotel where we stayed that day and get the surveillance records of that time. Yes. Luo Zhan, help me get the boarding information for that day. Okay. O Ming. Lie detector, right? Leave it to me. No. Li Xiqing looked at Xueqi and said, I want you to help me prove my innocence. My wife doesn't seem to trust me, does she? Xueqi heard this and felt a bit guilty. She didn't trust her? She wanted to, but Tang Menjing really didn't look like she was lying. Hey, Oming exclaimed. Since when did you care about other people's opinions? When people said you were gay and impotent, you didn't want to prove your innocence. Luo Zhan also felt surprised. Luo Zhan was also amazed. That's right, sister-in-law. There used to be a lot of girls who confessed to him, but he always put on a cold face and scared away a lot of girls. Also, he hugged me again and became my rumored boyfriend from then on. F***ck, this handsome guy is so straight that he can't be any more straight. From then on, he had to face all kinds of gay looks from all kinds of girls. Do you know how painful that feeling is? Luo Zhan looked sad and angry. His words and actions were extremely similar to Lu Yihan's. Xueqi chuckled, and at the same time, she thought of Lu Yihan. He was injured to save her, and she didn't know how he was doing in the hospital alone. O Ming also tried to smooth things over. He raised his eyebrows and said, he didn't have a girlfriend when he was in school. After he started his business, he was like a monk, either chanting scriptures or eating vegetarian food every day. When I heard that he listened to the old man and married you, I thought I didn't expect him to kill someone. Although the child was not saved, at least it proves that he is not gay or impotent, right? As he said that, he raised his eyebrows at Li Xiqing as if to say, how about it? I'm a good friend, right? Xueqi smiled and nodded. Yes. He finally breathed a sigh of relief and took her hand. Let's go home. Hey, throw it away after using it? At least treat us to a meal. Luo Zhan shouted. However, Li Xiqing simply ignored it. Luo Zhan looked at Oming indignantly and said, F***CK, you only care about the opposite sex. Oming also took Yu Lily's hand and smiled wickedly. Let's go home and sleep. Luo Zhan. Boo-hoo. There's no justice in this world. Inhumane. You're abusing me just because of a disagreement. I want to protest. I want to protest. Back home, Xueqi gradually blushed. Today, she didn't do it, and no one bothered her. Could it be, ugh, so embarrassing? Li Xiqing sensed that something was wrong with her. He leaned closer and whispered, What are you thinking about? No. No. She stuttered. Seeing the teasing smile on his face, she blushed all the way down to her neck. That's right, Li Xiqing said. She angrily pulled him into the bathroom. Take a shower first. Li Xiqing did not go in. He turned her over and pressed her against the door. His low voice had a hint of a smile. After the shower. What about after? After. Xueqi blushed even more and pushed him in. Shower first. Li Xiqing chuckled and said, Yes, ma'am. Death. Chapter 250. In the bathroom, the sound of running water came, and Xueqi couldn't help feeling nervous. Deep breath, exhale, inhale. When Li Xiqing came out, he was only wrapped in a bath towel. This was his habit. He never wiped the water off his body. His slightly curly black hair was still dripping water, and his wheat-colored skin glowed seductively under the warm yellow light of the bedroom. Wow, so handsome. Xueqi blushed, holding the bathrobe and rubbing against him. His entire body, inside and out, had been washed clean. She had never taken a shower so seriously. After she was done, she even put some body lotion on. However, thinking that Li Xiqing was very likely to bite her, she wiped the body lotion off. Thinking of the previous failures, Xueqi couldn't help feeling nervous. Taking another deep breath in the mirror, she finally walked out of the bathroom with a nervous and perturbed mood. When she came out, the light had been adjusted to a romantic dusk color. The white quilt on the bed was arched up. It was Li Xiqing. Phew. Don't be nervous. Xueqi stepped forward, carefully lifted the quilt, and lay down. However, she found that the man had fallen asleep. Oh, Xueqi suddenly felt that she had prepared for nothing. In this situation, he actually fell asleep? She reached out and put her arms around his waist. Li Xiqing had put on a silk nightgown. It was thin and stuck to his body, outlining his well-defined muscles. At this moment, his eyes were closed, and his breathing was even. He was sleeping very, very deeply. Thinking of how he had just rushed back, with dark circles under his eyes and sunken cheeks, Xueqi thought. He was probably exhausted. Xueqi stared at his sleeping face, slowly looking down from his eyebrows. His dark eyebrows, closed eyes, and 2 rows of thick black eyelashes. So beautiful. Xueqi watched and did not know when she fell asleep. Perhaps because Li Xiqing's arms were warmer, Xueqi couldn't help burrowing into his arms. In the middle of the night, Li Xiqing was woken up by her. Seeing that she was sleeping like a child, he smiled, adjusted her sleeping position, closed his eyes, and fell asleep with her. The effect of the press conference was very significant. Almost the entire Kingstown and even the entire country knew who Xueqi was. However, Xueqi's name had not only spread out, but there were also all kinds of rumors. For example, the relationship between Tang Menjing and Li Xiqing. Another example was the relationship between the Tang and Li families. Another example was the relationship between Xueqi and Song Yifan. Rong Anna never liked to read the newspaper at breakfast. However, when she saw the photo and the title of the headline, she couldn't help but be attracted. He reached for it and read the title aloud. Explosive. International Song is the father-in-law of the Li family. The attached photo was a photo of Song Yifan and Xueqi at the party. The two were standing a bit apart, and Song Yifan looked at Xueqi with obvious tenderness. Footsteps came from upstairs. Rong Anna took a bite of the sandwich and looked at the figure coming this way. Her long hair was combed into an elegant and gentle woman's bun. She wore a close-fitting long chong sam embroidered with crimson-purple flowers that made her already noble and aloof woman look even more beautiful and breathtaking. Chapter 251. There was no class the next morning, so she did not set the alarm clock. When she woke up, it was already past 9 a.m. Opening her eyes, she saw Li Xiqing's handsome face in deep sleep. His skin was smooth and delicate, and she could barely see any pores. His arm was still on her body, and his waist was a bit sore. She carefully turned sideways, reached out, and gently held his arm, lifted it up, and moved it away. However, when she was about to put his hand down, his hand suddenly went down and wrapped around her waist. Li Xiqing held her tightly in his arms. Before she had time to be surprised, her red lips were sealed. Being kissed, Xueqi suddenly woke up. Awake. His voice was a bit hoarse, with a hint of drowsiness. Completely awake. Li Xiqing saw her dazed look and brushed her long hair away from her face. I was too tired last night, and now. His big hand slid down from the side of her face and easily lifted her silk nightgown. Xueqi was well prepared last night and did not wear any underwear. She suddenly shivered, and her sensitive body subconsciously curled up. Don't be afraid. Li Xiqing turned over and gently kissed her lips. I'll be gentle. Xueqi blushed again. Looking at him, she inexplicably thought of a saying. A man's desire is the strongest in the morning. His rough big hand covered her face and slowly slid down, rubbing her neck and collarbone. Xueqi shivered sensitively and could not help looking up. However, she inadvertently caught a glimpse of his burning eyes. His innate cold eyes were tinged with an obvious fire, like the eyes of a hunting wolf that had seen a little white rabbit, with a hint of mockery and desire. Under his gaze, Xueqi wanted to turn into an ostrich and bury herself in the quilt. Shrinking her neck, she blushed and looked away. Don't look at me. Her voice was incredibly flirtatious. Xueqi heard her own voice and was startled. Was it really her voice? Why did it sound like she was deliberately making love to him? Li Xiqing's eyes became darker. He stopped teasing her and chuckled. Leaning down, he kissed her face and neck. The wet feeling slowly moved down, and she felt uncomfortable all over. Involuntarily, she lifted her legs and climbed onto his body. Her nightgown was peeled off, and she clearly felt his big hand pass through her back. His slightly calloused palm gently rubbed the delicate skin on her back, bringing with it tiny particles. Uncomfortable. This feeling was too unbearable. Xueqi felt uncomfortable, but she couldn't tell exactly what was wrong. Unable to help herself, she twisted her body and looked at him with blurred eyes. She whispered, Mr. Li. Li Xiqing paused and pressed his whole body against hers. He whispered dangerously, What did you call me? Xueqi knew she called him the wrong way, but she had called him that for so many years. How could she change it so easily? Under his gaze, she finally corrected herself. Honey. Yes, what's up? Li Xiqing curled his lips in satisfaction. Uncomfortable. Li Xiqing's big hand moved down and found that she was already deeply in love with him. Death. Chapter 252. Xueqi realized it and immediately bit her lower lip, closing her mouth. However, the waves of numbness coming from her lower body caused her to be utterly defeated. Lu Han heard it and felt something was wrong. He asked, What's wrong, Qian? Did something happen? Xueqi wanted to speak, but he was moving more and more forcefully. Biting her lower lip, she arched her back and put her hands on his back, her nails deeply embedded in his flesh. Qian. Lu Han panicked and sat up on the bed. Don't scare me. Hello. Li Xiqing worked hard and whispered in her ear, Tell him what you're doing. Xueqi gritted her teeth and slowly moved up and down with him. The king-sized bed gently swayed with their movements, and the man's unrestrained low breathing was clearly heard on the other side of the phone. Lu Han felt like he was going crazy. He had a bad feeling in his heart and shouted, Qian, where are you? I'm coming for you. Talk to me. Hearing his voice, Xueqi knew that he was really anxious. Biting her lower lip, she wanted to speak, but the man on top of her kept accelerating, moving so fast that she almost had no time to breathe. Qian. Lu Han had already pulled out the needle in his hand. Without even putting on his shoes, he got out of bed and rushed out. A young nurse saw him and quickly stopped him. Sir, you can't run around. The wound is not healed yet. Xueqi heard it and knew what was going on. She opened her mouth and wanted to speak, but when she let go of her lower lip, the words turned into a light moan and were clearly transmitted to the phone. Lu Yihan was silent. Xueqi gasped and said intermittently, "I'm fine." Lu Yihan did not speak again. Li Xiqing curled his lips in satisfaction and hung up the phone. Throwing the phone on the bedside table, he moved even harder. Finally, there was no one to disturb them. Li Xiqing put his big hand on her back and helped her sit on top of him. Wet kisses on her neck, he whispered. "Say it. I want to hear it." This position was too deep, and Xueqi was about to burst into tears. She shouted, "It hurts. Get out, it hurts." Holding her, he said in a low voice with a hint of danger, "If it hurts, scream." Xueqi finally couldn't take it anymore and let out a sound that made her extremely ashamed. Li Xiqing was getting more and more aroused. He turned over and pressed her down, lifting her legs high and thrusting hard. Seeing her emotional expression, Li Xiqing subconsciously thought of Lu Yihan. When he was in New York, he had received a large amount of information through a phone call with a lot of care and concern. The video that Tang Menjing edited certainly meant to frame Xueqi. However, if she had not been so close to Lu Yihan, how could Tang Menjing have collected so many crimes? It was very painful. However, it only stimulated the beastly nature of the man. Xueqi screamed and hugged him tightly. Her mind was blank, but she heard his deep and mellow voice. "If Lu Yihan did this to you, would you call him that?" His voice was low and deep, filled with jealousy. Chapter 253. Opening her legs, Li Xiqing put her legs on his shoulder. Seeing that, he felt sorry for her and blamed himself. At the same time, there was an uncontrollable fire burning in him. "Calm down, Li Xiqing." Taking a deep breath, Li Xiqing picked up a bit of ointment and gently applied it. The cold feeling made the pain go away. She still covered her face with the pillow and did not move it away. He restrained himself. After applying the medicine, he took away her pillow and said, "Okay, put on your clothes and go down to dinner." Xueqi looked at him and said, "Okay, get dressed and go down to dinner." Getting up, he opened the closet and picked out a white sleeveless dress. It was already autumn. Thinking about it, Li Xiqing found a light yellow dress with mid-sleeves. Rummaging through his closet, he found some underwear and turned around. Xueqi was speechless. Why did it feel so? Seeing him holding her clothes, "Yeah, I'll do it myself." "I'll help you." "No, you go out." "I'll do it myself." Xueqi had already pulled the quilt over herself. Blushing, she reached out and took the bra from his hand. He did not care about her and lifted the quilt. As she screamed, he lifted her naked body and let her sit on him. Xueqi's body stiffened. Clearly feeling the heat in his body, she did not even dare to move. Li Xiqing moved closer and whispered in her ear, "I'll help you." The hot breath was on her face, and she blushed even more. Even the tips of her ears were flushed. This man was so bad. Xueqi found that she was being controlled by him, and there was nothing she could do. But it was so enjoyable. What should she do? Li Xiqing helped her get dressed, but his movements were a bit jerky. Along the way, Xueqi did not dare to look at him. Finally, she zipped up and jumped off barefoot, wanting to run away. Li Xiqing could not help but laugh. Looking at her back, he reminded her, "Shoes." Xueqi put on her shoes and went to the bathroom. Inadvertently, she looked up and found that she was wearing very conservative clothes. The collar was so high that it reached his neck, hiding all the crazy marks inside, not revealing a single trace. The length of the sleeves was also perfect for the current weather. Wiping her hands, Xueqi felt sweet. Li Xiqing had accepted her. This man belonged to her. She opened the door and walked out, still unable to suppress the smile on her face. Li Xiqing was also infected by her joy. His cold eyes were much softer than usual. When they walked down the stairs together, Nanny Rong looked at the time and exclaimed, "Oh, it's past 1 o'clock. Come and have dinner. It's still hot." Nanny Rong looked at the time and exclaimed, "Hey, it's already 1 o'clock." Xueqi blushed. Why did she feel that Nanny Rong had seen through everything? Under Nanny Rong's probing gaze, Xueqi only lowered her head to eat and did not dare to say anything. The phone in the villa rang. After Nanny Rong answered, her expression changed. She turned around and said, Young master, sir is looking for you. Nanny Rong usually addressed Li Xiqing as sir. Only when they were in the old house, she would call him sir. And sir was Li Xiqing's father. Li Xiqing put down his bowl and walked over to take the phone. Dad! You brat! Get back here right now. The voice was furious. After a pause, he said, Alone. Don't bring your wife. Xueqi asked, What happened? Chapter 254. About 10 seconds later, he hung up and looked at Xueqi. What's wrong? Seeing his expression, Xueqi felt a bit uneasy. At this critical moment, Li Xiqing's father suddenly called. Did something happen to Tang Menjing? Nothing. You eat first. I'll take you to class. Oh. Xueqi looked down, but her heart felt heavy. She could not eat the delicate food in front of her. Looking up at him, she asked, What's wrong? He shook his head. He did not know. However, his father rarely lost his temper. The number of times he would yell at him like today was definitely not more than 3 times in his life. It was definitely not a small matter. Not wanting Xueqi to worry, he just shook his head. After dinner, Li Xiqing walked her to the school gate and kissed her on the forehead. Xueqi got out of the car and watched his car drive away. She felt more and more uneasy. On the busy campus, many students saw her and immediately came up to her. Xueqi, were you okay last night? Those people were too much, especially Tang Menjing's mother. How could she be the wife of a rich family? Mr. Li is not that kind of person. We all believe. Xueqi could not bear it anymore. Her mind was in a mess. She forced a smile and said that she was not feeling well and went to class first. Before entering the old house of the Li family, Li Xiqing could feel the pressure that was lower than normal. Lu Sa was pacing back and forth in the living room. Seeing him, she hurriedly called, Master, you're finally back. Mr. Li is waiting for you in the study. What's wrong? Li Xiqing asked. You should go in first. Miss Tang. Lu Sa hesitated, which made Li Xiqing's heart sink. Her again. Li Xiqing had already guessed what was going on. Seeing Lu Sa's hesitation, he nodded and said, I know. Don't worry. It's fine. Lu Sa looked a bit relaxed. That's good. You have to take care of Miss Tang as well. I used to think she was a nice girl, but now. How could she be so shameless now? Did she really think she could get married just because she was pregnant? Second young master is not that kind of person. Before he finished, his phone rang. It was Chung Yu. Boss, I got it. Send it to the old mansion. Yes. Hanging up, Li Xiqing nodded at Lu Sa and walked into the study. Before he went in, he heard the sound of crying. Tang Menjing's eyes were red and swollen. She was hugging Mrs. Tang. Seeing Li Xiqing coming in, she seemed to be scared, shrank back, and said weakly, Brother Xiqing. Li Xiqing looked at Tang Menjing's belly. Today, she was wearing a tight black dress. Her 3-month-old belly was slightly bulging. Her oval-shaped face had now become a little rounder, and her whole body was rounder than before. Feeling his gaze, Tang Menjing touched her belly and stood behind Mrs. Tang. Mrs. Tang sneered and said in a sarcastic tone, Here comes the one who abandons me. Chapter 255. Li Xiao was very angry, which could be heard from his voice. In the study, Qin Shuhua was standing not far from Mrs. Tang. Behind Mrs. Tang was Tang Menjing, and next to her was Tang Zhenghao. Except for Tang Mengqing, everyone in the Tang family was there. Li Xiqing already knew what was going on. Looking at his father, there was no fear in his cold eyes. He asked slowly, Why? Li Xiao was amused and asked, Why? You did this yourself. How dare you ask why? Then, he grabbed 2 pieces of paper from the table and threw them at Li Xiqing's face. However, the paper was too light, and Li Xiqing caught it in his hand. At first glance, he saw the eye-catching title, Lie Detector Test Report. Looking down slowly, Li Xiqing skimmed through the words. His cold eyes narrowed, and a deep thought flashed through his mind. Li Xiao was so angry that his hands were trembling. Pointing at Li Xiqing, he yelled, I should have forced you to join the army. Look at your brothers. They didn't do this to me. In Li Xiao's study, there were all kinds of medals of honor hanging. That mighty and domineering military uniform clearly displayed Li Zhao's extraordinary military rank. Not only was he a major general, but even his two sons had done him a great job. Li Beixing had become a major at a young age, and his younger son, Li Jinnan, was already a captain. Li Xiqing had been a maverick since childhood. When other children were playing with mud and peeing the bed, he began to study the map of the world, determined to be the second Columbus and discover the new world. When other children were learning to sing and dance, he held a bamboo high and yelled to defeat fascism. While other children fell in love at puberty, he was immersed in his studies. He learned everything he should and shouldn't learn in one breath. Later on, he hired several tutors, but none of them could stay. They were all scared away by his terrifying humility. Finally, when Li Xiqing graduated from college, Li Xiao wanted him to be a soldier like himself, to protect the country and do his part for the country. But this kid actually registered a company on his own without saying a word. Moreover, it was already a small-scale company with a sizable income. She had thought that she did not need to worry about Li Xiqing anymore. However, she did not expect that no matter how sensible and decent a man was, he would still make mistakes that all men would make. Li Xiao was so angry that he couldn't even eat. After reading both pages, Li Xiqing looked away and said, "Was the lie detector experiment done in front of you?" Li Xiao trembled with anger and shouted, "Do you still need to do it in front of me? This report already explains everything." "So you didn't see it with your own eyes?" Li Xiqing's voice was cold. "Then why do you think she is telling the truth?" "You bastard!" Mrs. Tang was so angry that she wanted to punch Li Xiqing but was stopped by Tang Menjing. "Mom, don't!" Tang Menjing sobbed and hugged Mrs. Tang. "Xiqing!" Qin Shuhua went to protect her son and said, "Watch your words. Don't you know whether you did it or not? I also heard what Oming said and asked your father to apply for a lie detector. It turned out that Menjing was not lying." Chapter 256. Outsiders. Mrs. Tang screamed. "If it were not for Xueqi, our Tang Menjing would have become your wife long ago. She would not have to suffer like this." Li Xiqing looked at Mrs. Tang, narrowed his eyes, and said thoughtfully, "It turns out that shamelessness is hereditary. I have learned something new today." Tang Menjing and Mrs. Tang's expressions immediately changed. Tang Zhenghao's face darkened as he roared, "Li Xiqing, we are here today to ask for an explanation. Don't change the subject." "What a coincidence. I also want an explanation from you." Li Xiqing rolled up the test report in his hand and slowly sneered. "Your daughter not only accused me of slander, framed my wife, caused my child to miscarry, and even framed my wife in the street. Now, with her pregnant belly, she insists that it was me who did it and wants to forcibly destroy my relationship with my wife. What explanation do you have for me?" Although he had gotten justice one by one, he had not only screwed up Fu Zetian, but also shut down Tang Menjing and the Tang family's companies one by one. He had also made Tang Menjing use all her tricks, but in the end, she reaped what she sowed. However, since they had come to him, there was no reason for him to let them go. Tang Zhenghao did not expect to be accused by Li Xiqing before he could say anything. Hearing Tang Menjing's accusations, he looked at his daughter. Tang Menjing noticed that her father was shaken. She immediately gritted her teeth and sobbed, "Li Xiqing, you know very well whether it was you or not. If it were not you, do you think I would have let that person touch me? If it were not your child, do you think I would have kept it? You know I like you. That's why I did this, brother Xiqing. Then let's do a blood test." Li Xiqing's face was cold, indifferent to her words. He looked at his father and said, "Let's do a DNA test to prove your son's innocence." No one would be willing to bear such a heavy responsibility for nothing. Li Xiao knew his son's character very well. Although he was not a gentleman, he dared to admit what he had done. If he said he did not, then he did not. However, lie detector. How do you explain that? Tang Zhenghao was furious. A woman is willing to be with you and give birth to your child. You not only denied it, but also humiliated her in such a way. Li Xiqing, you are an animal. Then what's the one who wants to rely on the beast wholeheartedly? Tang Zhenghao was speechless and trembled with anger. After a long while he cursed, "You are an asshole. The facts are in front of you, and you still deny it. Do you really think my daughter is a pushover? Li Xiqing sneered and said coldly, Don't worry, I have evidence. Tang asked. Tang Menjing, Li, and Li? Suddenly, her pocket vibrated. She took out her phone and unlocked it. It was a text message. Oh no, Z is working for Li Xiqing. He has gotten the surveillance video of you drunk in Australia. Seeing this, Tang, and Mying Li hung Tang. However, the child in her belly was his. Why should she panic? At that moment Lu Sa knocked on the door, walked in and said, Sir, Mr. Li, there is a Miss Chung. She said she is Mr. Li's assistant and is here to deliver something for him. Chapter 257. Chung Yu quickly came in, holding a tablet in her hand. Boss. Chung Yu shouted and then nodded slightly to the people around her who were meeting for the first time. She was inevitably nervous. Especially when she saw all kinds of things about soldiers in the study. She couldn't help trembling in awe. Don't be nervous, Li Xiqing said lightly. Give it to me. Chung Yu was embarrassed, opened it, and handed the tablet over. However, her eyes were involuntarily attracted by the only acquaintance in the room besides Li Xiqing. Tang Menjing was really pregnant. Her belly was slightly bulging, and she looked a little fat. At this moment, her eyes were red and swollen. Looking at her, she seemed to be nervous. Chung Yu slightly raised an eyebrow, and a bit of contempt flashed in her eyes. She knew all the truth. That night in Australia, after Li Xiqing left, she was also driven away. However, Chung Yu still couldn't bear to leave such a drunk woman at the door. After thinking about it, she still went back. However, when she went back, the door of the room had been closed. She tried to knock, put her ear on the door for a moment, and there was a sound that made her blush and her heart beat faster. The door of the hotel was very soundproof, and Chung Yu could only hear her shouting, Brother Xiqing. At that time, her first reaction was, Did boss come back? She tried to call him and found that he had arrived at the airport. The next day, she got up early and wanted to call him. At that time, she saw a white man with blue eyes and blonde hair walking out of the room in a hurry. That man was definitely not Li Xiqing. Now he wanted to blame it on boss? Did he really think that she was just a decoration? Li Xiqing's fingers slid a few times on the tablet, using the leather of the tablet to make the screen face everyone. On the screen, the high-definition surveillance video clearly showed Li Xiqing's face, and the surveillance video showed 3 rooms in a row. Li Xiqing walked to the door of a room and knocked. Tang Menjing inside opened the door. Tang Zhenghao saw his daughter clinging to Li Xiqing with his own eyes and suddenly felt ashamed. She was wearing so revealing that even he, as a father, felt. Not to mention Li Xiqing, a young man. However, to her surprise, he pushed her away and looked at her with a cold face, colder and scarier than usual. What made Tang Zhenghao feel even more humiliated was that Tang Menjing was crying and throwing a tantrum, clinging to him shamelessly. Her snow-white breasts were pressed against him, too big for him to look at. This kind of seduction, which man could resist? Corrupting the reputation of the sect. Tang Zhenghao turned around and glared at Tang Menjing. The latter shivered and hid behind Mrs. Tang. Looking at the screen coldly, Li Xiqing stared at Tang Menjing with his sharp eyes. Tang Menjing blushed and gritted her teeth. I was drunk that day, but the baby is yours. She was sure that the man that night was definitely Li Xiqing. It couldn't be anyone else's. Impossible. Chung Yu's face was filled with contempt. Death was at hand, yet he was still so stubborn. But in front of the Tang family, he couldn't show it too obviously. Chapter 258. The sudden black screen made both Li Xiqing and Chang Yu dumbfounded. What happened? Chang Yu was a bit dazed, taking the tablet and turning it around. There was power and it was full. However, after looking through the entire folder, she could not find the video that she had painstakingly cut from Australia. What happened? Chang Yu looked dumbfounded. It was playing just now. Why did it suddenly stop? The video was at a critical moment. After Li Xiqing was dragged into the room by her that day, he had pushed her away and left before he could even step into the room. However, the video stopped at this part. In the eyes of those who did not know the truth, it was too easy for them to imagine. The atmosphere around Li Xiqing suddenly became cold, and he said in a deep voice, "Solve it." Chengyu shrunk her neck and said, "I'll call Luo Zhan." Yes. Thinking about it, she said, "I'll pick it up." When she called Luo Zhan, he was sleeping soundly. Seeing it was Chengyu, he immediately picked up the phone and shouted, "Hey, Cheng, did you miss me?" Li Xiqing was immediately disgusted. He grunted coldly and said, "Yes, I missed you." Luo Zhan suddenly shivered, sat up and said, "It's you. Oh, look at my old eyes. I thought it was Assistant Cheng." But when he took it out, it was Chengyu. Luo Zhan wondered why Li Xiqing would call him with Chengyu's phone. "What about the thing I asked you to do?" "It's done." "Did Assistant Cheng give it to you?" "Yes." "Then. That's it. Gone." Luo Zhan was silent, and he had a faint ominous feeling in his heart. "What happened?" Li Xiqing briefly explained, and Luo Zhan immediately turned over and turned on the computer. When he turned it on, he saw the blatant provocation on the computer screen, which made Luo Zhan furious. "Top Hacker Z, welcome back." Behind it was a big smiley face. "Damn!" Luo Zhan was furious. "I was hacked." Then, she ignored Li Xiqing and started typing on the keyboard. The thief who invaded his computer acted very poorly. It could be seen that he had tried his best to hide his whereabouts, but in Luo Zhan's eyes, there was still nowhere to hide. Luo Zhan easily found the IP of the intrusion. He hacked in and found that this person turned out to be one of the few IPs he had tracked. A gunman hired by Tang Menjing? F***CK. Luo Zhan was furious. "It's this guy again." Li Xiqing's face darkened and he asked in a deep voice, "Where's the video?" "Video?" Luo Zhan's eyes widened, and he immediately clicked into the encrypted folder. "It's over. I've been infiltrated." Luo Zhan was too conceited and did not set the firewall high. Instead, he set a small trap in the firewall. He didn't expect that this person would so brazenly hack into his account and destroy his video even if he had to risk the possibility of being discredited. Luo Zhan was going crazy. "What should we do? The video is gone." "Ha!" Li Xiqing chuckled in a low voice, but there was an indescribable gloominess and danger in his laughter. Luo Zhan shivered. He knew that Li Xiqing was really angry. Cleverly, he shouted, "I'll go steal another one. Wait for me for 10 minutes. No, 8 minutes. 7 minutes." As he spoke, he put down the phone and climbed over the wall to find the hotel. However, the folder that should have stored the video of that day was empty. Chapter 259. Hearing Luo Zhan's curse, Li Xiqing already knew what was going on. Holding Changyu's cell phone, the more he held it, the tighter it became. His face was so cold that Chengyu took a step back. "It's over, it's over." Li Xiqing was really angry this time. Even Chengyu had never seen him so angry. Did Luo Zhan really make a mistake at this moment? Seeing Li Xiqing's expression, Mrs. Tang sneered smugly in her heart. "Is this your evidence? I saw with my own eyes that you went into my daughter's room." The video just now happened to be cut off at that place, so the result was self-evident. Li Xiao was disappointed, slammed the table, and roared, "Li Xiqing, kneel!" Li Xiqing threw the cell phone back to Chengyu. Although his face was gloomy, his tone was indescribably calm. "You go back first." Chengyu heard that and hurriedly nodded, running away. Li Xiqing's father was even scarier than Li Xiqing. Sure enough, the boy still needed to be punished. However, would Li Xiqing really kneel? If he did, wouldn't he be admitting that he was innocent? The more Chengyu thought about it, the more she felt it was inappropriate. After thinking about it, she picked up the cell phone and called Xueqi. After Chengyu left, Li Xiqing closed the door of the study, turned around, and walked to Li Zhao's desk. "Not me." Li Xiqing's eyes were firm, but there was a hint of mockery in them. "You are my father. If you ask me to kneel, I dare not refuse, but..." "Then kneel." Mrs. Tang was furious. "You little bastard." "Bah." "Shut up." Tang Zhenghao stopped her, but seeing Li Xiqing like this, he felt indescribably happy. Wasn't the boy very capable? Let his father deal with him. Unexpectedly, Li Xiqing did not kneel. Instead, he stretched out his long fingers and slowly unbuttoned his suit,
as elegant as a gentleman about to attend a ceremony. His eyes were cold and deep, and his face was not very good. However, every move of hers was indescribably graceful.
Tang Menjing was so excited that she covered her belly with her hand. It was great that she was pregnant with his child. Li Xiqing took off his suit jacket, threw it on the ground and said, "Come on." Li Xiao was a little stunned, but then he seemed to think of something. He gritted his teeth angrily, stared at Li Xiqing and roared, "Li Xiqing! I will never admit to something I have not done." Li Xiqing's eyes were full of sarcasm. "You know that, don't you? The descendants of the Li clan could not disobey the orders of their elders. If he disobeyed, he would be punished according to the family rules." Li Xiqing was ready to be punished by the family. Frightened, Qin Shuhua quickly shielded Li Xiqing behind her and said, Xiqing, let's talk this out. Don't make your father angry. Be a good boy and kneel down to apologize." "I said it's not me, so it's not me." Li Xiqing interrupted Qin Shuhua. "My last name is Li, and their last name is Tang. Why do you believe them instead of me?" "Mom, Dad, I'm very disappointed." Li Xiao was infuriated. He turned around and reached for the military whip behind his desk. Chapter 260. Looking at the military whip, Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. Tang Zhenghao and his wife saw it and were amused. Tang Menjing panicked and shouted, "Uncle Li, don't." Years ago, he refused to follow Li Zhao's order to join the army. He knelt in the ancestral hall for a day and was whipped, but he did not change his mind. Li Xiqing was good at everything, but he was too stubborn. Once he made up his mind, even if you beat him to death, there would only be one result. The Tang family knew it, and so did the Li family. Li Xiao just wanted to scare him and did not really want to beat him. Seeing the obvious disappointment in his eyes, he felt bad. Holding the whip in his hand, Li Xiao deliberately waved it in front of Li Xiqing and said coldly, "Let me ask you again. Did you do it?" That was a military whip, which he had tasted before. It was very scary. One hit from the whip was enough to break his skin. The last time he was beaten, he had to stay in the hospital for half a month. However, he could not die. Looking at him and the whip in his hand, Li Xiqing said frankly, "I did not do it." His voice was very firm. Li Zhao's anger subsided. Swinging the whip, he said coldly, "Then let's do a DNA test." If his son said he did not do it, then he did not do it. A DNA test would make the Tang family give up. Dumbfounded, Mrs. Tang blurted out, "Stop." She had been looking forward to it for so long. Why would he stop? Li Xiao laughed and said, "He is not your son. Why do you care so much?" Mrs. Tang was speechless. She choked and then said weakly, "But your son?" "Yes, DNA test." Qin Shuhua was scared to death. She had been standing behind her son and almost cried. But now that Li Xiao had stopped hitting her, she was still scared. She sobbed and said, "I believe you. Don't make your dad angry. Be good." Li Xiqing reached out and patted Qin Shuhua's back. "It's okay. Don't cry." Feeling very upset, Mrs. Tang said, "Are you just going to let it go? Are you too blind? You saw your son enter my daughter's room with your own eyes. Don't you need to take responsibility?" "I only saw your daughter seducing my son," Li Xiao shouted coldly. "I will never allow such a woman to marry into the Li family. It's just a child. We don't even know if he belongs to our family. Even if he does, we can afford to raise a child." Qin Shuhua felt that something was off. "Li Xiao. Women shouldn't interrupt when men are talking." Li Xiao glared at Qin Shuhua. Tang Zhenghao trembled with anger and bellowed, Good, Li Xiao, Li Xiqing. The evidence is right in front of you, yet you're still acting so shamelessly. I've really witnessed the extent of the Li clan's shamelessness. Didn't you want to do a DNA test? Let's do it. Amniocentesis will take 4 months. If we do it now." Tang Menjing's face was pale. "Then we'll wait for 4 months. Tang Zhenghao roared. "Isn't it more than 3 months now? At that time, I will use that DNA report to slap you in the face." Saying that, Tang Zhenghao walked out with his wife and daughter and ran into Xueqi, who was rushing back. Seeing Xueqi, the Tang family all looked unfriendly. Chapter 261. Hearing that, Xueqi felt as if her heart had been stabbed by a thorn, faintly aching. However, seeing the expressions of Mrs. Tang and Tang Zhenghao, and then looking at Tang Menjing, Xueqi had a mocking smile on her face. Looking at her as if she was looking at a fool, she asked in the same voice, "Do you think I will believe you?" Tang Menjing gritted her teeth and was about to say something, but Xueqi had already walked into the study. "I am most afraid that you have been framed without knowing it." Li Zhao's voice came out. Xueqi paused when she was about to open the door. Li Xiqing was still calm, and his voice came out unhurriedly. He said, "It's impossible." "Humph. That better be the case. But you have to keep an eye on your wife. Tang Menjing is much more cunning than your wife. Don't let your wife know, or it will be hard to clean up." Li Xiao did not have a good impression of the girl from the Tang family. After what happened today, he felt that this woman was not a good person. "Okay," Li Xiqing responded. Qin Shuhua said, "The lie detector is fine. Now we just need to do a DNA test." She took her hand back from the doorknob and slightly tightened, hanging on her side. There was nothing wrong with the lie detector. In other words, the child in Tang Menjing's belly was really Li Xiqing's? "Don't tell her what happened today," Li Xiqing said. "I am afraid she will overthink it." Xueqi stood at the door, feeling as if her heart had been stabbed by an awl. What did he mean by he was afraid she would overthink it? Was he afraid she would cry or make a scene? How could he? He had lived through it all in his previous lifetime, and this was just another one. When Li Xiqing walked out of the study, he heard Lu Sa calling for the second young mistress. However, he looked around and did not see Xueqi. Lu Sa came out with a fruit plate and asked in surprise, "Where is the second young mistress? Has she been here?" Li Xiqing asked. "Yes. I just saw her in the study. Didn't you see her?" Hearing that, Li Xiqing had an ominous feeling. He went out and drove back to the house. Xueqi had returned home and was helping Nanny Rong cook. Seeing him return, she smiled and shouted, "You're back. Come wash your hands and get ready for dinner." There didn't seem to be anything strange in his smile. Li Xiqing stepped forward and asked, "Did you just go to the old house?" Xueqi asked. Xueqi's smile froze and she nodded. "Yes, I saw you were busy, so I came back." "Lu Sa told you?" "Yes. Let's eat." She put the plate in her hand on the table, but her body suddenly felt heavy. Li Xiqing hugged her from behind and buried his face in her neck. Xueqi's body stiffened, and her heart suddenly began to tremble. His trembling was frightening and hopeless. Li Xiqing noticed her uneasiness and thought she was nervous and shy. His lips curled into a relaxed smile as he whispered, "What should I do? I haven't seen you for only one afternoon, and I miss you already." "Liar, liar." Xueqi could not hold it back, and her tears rolled down. She took his hand away and wiped her tears. She turned around awkwardly and said hurriedly, "I'll go get the dishes." Chapter 262. During dinner, although Xueqi and Li Xiqing were face to face, neither of them spoke first. Nanny Rong also clearly felt something was wrong. The atmosphere was not right. Everything was wrong. However, everything was fine before they left the house in the afternoon. After dinner, Xueqi rushed to wash the dishes. Seeing that she was not in a good mood, Nanny Rong let her be. After washing the dishes, it was after 7 p.m. Nanny Rong cleaned up and went home. Li Xiqing sat on the sofa in the living room, handling the urgent documents that Chang Yu had just sent over. So peaceful. It seemed no different from usual. However, Nanny Rong still felt a bit uneasy. "Nanny Rong, you can go home now." Xueqi smiled and wiped her hands with a clean cloth. Nanny Rong thought for a moment and whispered to Xueqi, "When you are unhappy, you can bully a man and be happy." Xueqi couldn't help smiling and nodded. After Nanny Rong left, Xueqi went upstairs and did not disturb Li Xiqing. After the shower, Xueqi climbed into bed and quickly fell asleep. Tired. Being tortured by him in the morning until the afternoon, Xueqi was not only physically tired, but also mentally tired. It was said that people were prone to nightmares when they were exhausted. Xueqi did not know if it was a nightmare or not. She saw Li Xiqing lying in the abandoned warehouse, eyes closed, hands tied behind him, and a bundle of detonators tied in front of him. The fire was raging. The sky was red, and the iron was red. The entire abandoned warehouse was filled with the roar of the fire. Seeing this, Xueqi burst into tears. Without hesitation, she rushed in, picked him up, and tried to wake him up. However, Li Xiqing did not seem to be awake at all. She took the detonators off him and used all her strength to drag him out. He did not wake up, but she could not see clearly because of the smoke. Her strength was getting weaker and weaker. She tried her best to push him out of the fire, but her vision was getting blurry. Vaguely, Xueqi seemed to see a figure coming this way. She raised her hand and wanted to shout, but her voice was as soft as a mosquito. What did she say? Her heart aching, Xueqi struggled and shouted, "Help him, help!" He was woken up by her and found that she was soaked. His hands seemed to be clutching something tightly. His face was already covered in tears, and his legs were flailing about. He was like a child begging for help in despair and sorrow. Li Xiqing's heart ached. He held her firmly and patted her back gently, whispering, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I'm here." Xueqi cried even harder and snuggled into his arms, seemingly unconsciously shouting, "It's not her, it's me. Mr. Li. Mr. Li." This form of address again. This form of address was filled with fear and alienation. Why did she call him that? Li Xiqing had never understood why. Xueqi gradually calmed down, but she was already soaked. Her wet and warm body clung to his, making Li Xiqing a bit restless. However, hearing what she said next, Li Xiqing's heart was aching. "Sorry, Mr. Li. I didn't mean to fall in love with you. I'm sorry," she sobbed softly, helpless and sad. Chapter 263. Tang Menjing stayed at home, carefully writing down every word and recording it as a mother's diary for 10 months. Dark ink appeared on the paper, and Tang Menjing's face was full of a sweet smile. "Baby, this is the 14th week since God sent you to me. Although your father does not want to admit your existence, I love you and look forward to your arrival. Baby, today, Mom is suspected by everyone again. Everyone thinks that you are not Dad's child, but only Mom knows that you are a child of the Li family, the flesh and blood of the Li family. Sooner or later, Mom will bring you back to the Li family and become a legitimate descendant of the Li family. Baby, today I took a lie detector test. Sorry, the expert said it might cause radiation to the fetus, but I still did it. I want your father to recognize me and you and drive the bad woman away. Baby, Grandma finally said she would help me. I am so happy. With the help of Grandma and Grandpa, I will definitely take you back to the Li family and make you a child of the Li family. Are you happy? I am so happy. Baby, today Daddy was almost beaten by Grandpa. I was so scared. If Daddy was beaten, then I would never be able to take you back to the Li family. Fortunately, Grandpa did not do it. He chose to believe Daddy, not Mommy. Remember, Grandpa is a big bad guy. When you grow up, you must avenge Mommy. However, there is good news. Although Grandma seems to help Daddy, she has always believed that the baby you are carrying is the child of the Li family. Grandma loves you and Mommy. When you grow up, you must be good to Grandma. Signed, Love, Mom. Tang Menjing pulled off the cap of the pen and put it aside. She stretched and felt sleepy again. Since she was pregnant, she could not get enough sleep. But when she just went to bed, her phone rang. It was her private number. She picked it up and heard a familiar voice, panting. Menjing, I need your help. All my accounts have been hacked. I don't have any money with me. Please give me some cash. Hearing the voice, Tang Menjing was disgusted and shouted, You have the nerve to ask me for money? If you had not dropped the ball at the critical moment last time, I would not have ended up like that. Hey, didn't I save you? If I didn't help you yesterday, do you think you would be as good as you are today? Now because I helped you, Z and that psycho Li Xiqing sent people to search me everywhere. Now all my accounts and things have been hacked, and a secret reward has been issued. Now I can't go home. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be like this. Tang Menjing frowned and sneered. Help me? What did you do for me? Yesterday, if I hadn't hacked that video in time, you would have been beaten to death by that old antique father of yours, right? If your father finds out that you've gotten a bastard out of nowhere. What do you mean? Tang Menjing was angry. You're the bastard. This is Brother Xueqing's flesh and blood. There was a silence on the other side of the phone. After a long while she said, "Do you really think that the man that night was Li Xueqing?" "What do you mean?" Tang Menjing was emotional. "That man is heartless. If he doesn't want it, I want it." Chapter 264. There was silence again. After a long while he said, "Anyway, I helped you yesterday. Can you give me some cash? A few $100 would be fine. Let me find a safe place to stay for a while. Li Xueqing is chasing me like a dog." Xueqi's face darkened. She looked at Xueqi. Tang Menjing was a bit disdainful, but she knew that the guy would not lie to her. "Where are you? I will have someone send it to you." The guy quickly gave her the address, and Tang Menjing asked the driver to send it over. However, she did not know that the Tang family's house was already under surveillance. This hacker was not as good as Luo Zhan. If he forced his way in, he would be discovered and wanted. He was Tang Menjing's gunman. When he was desperate, he would definitely come to her. Li Xueqing had calculated everything and asked Cheng Yu to arrange for someone to watch over the Tang family. As long as there was something wrong with the Tang family, Li Xueqing's men would immediately notice and report back to their superiors. "Go after him." Cheng Yu only said one word. After that, he picked up his phone and dialed the big boss's number to briefly explain the situation. Li Xueqing's voice was cold. "Find him even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground." "Yes, sir." After a day of classes, Xueqi saw Li Xueqing's black Maybach at the gate of the school. Her classmate recognized the car and said enviously, "Your husband is here to pick you up again." Xueqi smiled, quickly walked over, and sat in the passenger seat. "Why are you here?" "To take you back to the old house." Li Xueqing took her bag and helped her fasten the seat belt. His voice was rare and gentle. "Mr. Song is visiting Grandpa and Mom and Dad. Grandpa hopes that we can have dinner together." When in the Maldives, Captain Li had never thought about having dinner with Song Yifan. After the press conference a few days ago, his attitude towards Song Yifan had changed a lot. After all, their identities were different. Whether he was related to Xueqi or not, his attitude of protecting Xueqi was enough to earn people's respect. Back at the old house, Song Yifan was surprised to see Xueqi. Immediately standing up from the sofa, Song Yifan, who had always been elegant, was at a loss. He called, "Xueqi, you're back." She felt warm and nodded. "Yes, I'm back." Seeing this harmonious scene, Old Master Li smiled even more brightly and said, "Little Song, you and your daughter haven't seen each other for a long time, right? You two have a good chat. I'm going to lie down first. I'm getting old, and it's uncomfortable to sit for too long." As he spoke, he got up to leave. "Let me walk you there," Song Yifan suggested. "That's fine. You can have a nice chat with Xueqi. I can walk on my own." Captain Li was a bit annoyed and walked away with his cane. Li Xueqing sat down with Xueqi. Song Yifan was obviously a bit nervous. Looking at Xueqi, he asked guiltily, "You won't blame me for what I said in front of the media that day, right? The situation was urgent, so I didn't think too much about it. It's okay." His indifferent tone was no different from usual. Song Yifan let out a sigh of relief. However, seeing her, he was still nervous and did not even know where to put his hands. Seeing the fruit on the table, he suddenly had an idea and said, "Are you thirsty? Let me peel an apple for you." Then he picked up the fruit knife on the table and picked up an apple that he had brought as a gift. He was about to peel it. "It's okay, Dad." Chapter 265. Seeing Song Yifan's reaction, Xueqi swallowed what she was about to say. Feeling embarrassed, Song Yifan blushed and quickly bent down to pick up the fruit knife that had fallen. However, the moment he bent down, his forehead hit the transparent glass of the table, making a clear dong sound. Xueqi was shocked and asked, "Are you okay?" Song Yifan felt even more embarrassed. His face was as red as when he performed on stage for the first time. Shaking her head, Xueqi looked at his hand and exclaimed. Song Yifan looked down and saw the red liquid coming out of his hand. It turned out that he had been caught off guard and held the fruit knife the wrong way. His palm felt a little itchy when the knife was facing him, but it didn't hurt much. However, Xueqi reached out and took the fruit knife from his hand.
She complained. How could I not be careful?
Xueqi sat across from Song Yifan. The coffee table was not big, and Xueqi could easily reach his hand. Looking at his palm, Xueqi saw that his palm had been dyed red with blood, which looked a bit scary. Li Xiqing was a bit jealous. However, seeing Song Yifan's silly look, he could not help but sympathize with him. Forget it. Just this once. Lu Sa, bring me the first aid kit, Li Xiqing called. Lu Sa quickly brought the kit over. Seeing the blood on Song Yifan's hand, she gasped and said, How did you get hurt? Wrap it up. I can do it myself. Thank you. Song Yifan smiled gently. Compared to when he was with Xueqi, he was much more indifferent. However, when he looked back and saw Xueqi looking for medicine in the first aid kit, he immediately returned to his silly look. Xueqi found a band-aid and carefully stuck it on his hand. However, after she did it, she found that Song Yifan's eyes were slightly red. Song Yifan blinked. Seeing her look up, he smiled and said, Thank you, Xueqi. Xueqi smiled. You're welcome. We are father and daughter, aren't we? Hearing that, Song Yifan's slightly red eyes suddenly became even redder, and there was a clear layer of tears in his eyes. But very quickly, he suppressed it. His voice was extremely low, and with a feeling of oppression he said, Yes, father and daughter. Taking a deep breath, Song Yifan realized that he was not calm enough. He stood up and said, I'm going to the bathroom. Over there. Li Xiqing pointed in a direction. Song Yifan quickly turned around and disappeared around the corner. Seeing Song Yifan's look, Xueqi's eyes became a bit red. Seeing her strange look, he asked in a low voice, Do you want to go to the bathroom too? She glared at him and pushed him away. Li Xiqing smiled, reached out to rub her hair and whispered, He is very happy. Me too. Xueqi's eyes were red as she looked up at him. I have a father too. Li Xiqing smiled and pinched her face. And me. Song Yifan sorted out his emotions and looked much calmer after he came back. After having dinner with the Li family and confirming their relationship, Song Yifan left with satisfaction. Chapter 266. Boss, we didn't catch him. He ran away. Hearing that, Li Xiqing became cold and asked in a deep voice, You didn't ask them to help? Yes. Chengyu was a bit embarrassed. But I was cheated. Li Xiqing was silent for a moment. Chengyu's heart was pounding and she quickly said, But I took a picture of him. Didn't Luo Zhan hack his computer? We should be able to find out his identity. Okay, send it to me. Yes, sir. He hung up the phone and received a text message from Chengyu. He opened it and downloaded it. It was a young man, looking a little flustered, but his facial features were clear. Xueqi accidentally saw it, and her heart skipped a beat. Her pupils suddenly shrank and she blurted out, Rong Rue. Li Xiqing looked over curiously. Do you know him? This is Tang Menjing's shooter? Li Xiqing nodded. Xueqi's heart was pounding. It was him, Rong Rue. Chengyu's husband. But why did Rong Rue become Tang Menjing's target and the main force of Tang Menjing's previous plan to destroy her? However, when Rong Rue pursued Chengyu, he was very enthusiastic. In the end, he won her heart and gave birth to a lovely daughter. How could he be related to Tang Menjing now? In the fire, Xueqi had seen him, but she had always thought it was an illusion and never suspected him. Now thinking about it. Variables. There were too many variables in this life. There were always two lines in Xueqi's mind. They were clearly close, but they could not connect. Why was Rong Rue on the same side as Tang Menjing? Why did Rong Rue pursue Chengyu? At that time, what kind of role did Chengyu play between Li Xiqing and herself? Xueqi suddenly felt a splitting headache. Everything suddenly poured over her like a tide, making it difficult for her to digest for a while. What's wrong? Li Xiqing saw her strangeness. Xueqi's pupils calmed down. She slowly shook her head and said, This person is called Rong Rue from the capital. How do you know him? Xueqi suddenly did not know how to explain. Looking at Li Xiqing, she said, When I was dreaming, I dreamed. You dreamed of it? Li Xiqing felt it was a bit ridiculous.
However, thinking of how she sobbed in her dream last night, he swallowed what he wanted to ask and took her in his arms.
Okay, let's go home first. I'm serious. She was worried that he would not believe it. Rong Rue is a very dangerous person. He will hurt us. You must be careful of him, and Tang Menjing. They are in cahoots and Qingyu. Qingyu? What does this have to do with her? She nodded and grabbed his sleeve, fearing that he would not believe her. Blushing, she looked into his eyes. He has a good relationship with Qingyu, so. As he spoke, the distance between them grew closer and closer. Today, she was wearing a pink round neck dress. He was a head taller than her, and from his angle, he could clearly see her beautiful and delicate collarbone. There were faint marks on it. Chapter 267. Li Xiqing's eyes darkened. He lowered his head and kissed her lips. Caught off guard, Xueqi stared at him with her eyes wide open.
However, her lips and teeth were soon pried open.
A strong arm wrapped around her waist and held her firmly. His kiss was very light and soft. Xueqi only felt that there was a feather gently tickling her heart, and her heart was intoxicated beyond belief. Ouch, ouch. Captain Li's voice came out. Xueqi suddenly opened her eyes and pushed him away out of reflex. Her face suddenly became hot. Turning her head, she saw the teasing smile on Captain Li's face and blushed even more. She called, "Grandpa." I understand. Young people are always hot. But you should pay attention to the occasion. Xueqi's face became even hotter. Looking up, she saw the smile in his eyes. She gave him a stare and pinched his hand. Don't laugh. However, Li Xiqing smiled even more brightly. Taking her into his arms, he looked at Captain Li and said, "Grandpa, let's go back." Go, go, go. It's late. Time to go. Late at night. What did that mean? Xueqi suddenly felt that she was not pure. She struggled in his arms, but he did not let go. He said, "Yes, it's late. Grandpa, rest early. We will go back to sleep." Okay, make a baby for Grandpa to hold. Okay. Xueqi blushed even more. Unable to break free, she simply buried herself in his arms and pretended to be dead. Li Xiqing carried her in his arms and said, "Let's go home and make a baby." Stop it. That's so embarrassing. Xueqi wanted to cover his mouth. Captain Li laughed. Li Xiqing directly carried her, opened the door of the passenger seat, and put her in. However, just as he opened the door of the driver's seat, a slender and elegant figure appeared in front of him not far from the car. Tang Menjing saw Li Xiqing put Xueqi in her seat with her own eyes. She pinched her arms and almost bit her lower lip. Noticing that he had noticed her, the jealousy in her eyes suddenly disappeared. She forced a smile and said, "Brother Xiqing, I have something to tell you." He did not even bother to roll his eyes at her. Sitting in the driver's seat, he drove away. Tang Menjing's face was covered in exhaust. Her fingers dug deep into her arms, and she was even angrier. His phone rang. It was an unknown number. It must be that useless Rong Rue again. Tang Menjing hung up and turned off her phone. Holding the phone, Rong Rue stood on the side of the road, his heart sinking. Useless cousin, she is just a woman that Li Xiqing doesn't want. If your family knows that you are working for this woman instead of going back to inherit the family business, they will definitely kill you. An enchanting woman yawned. Her long nails were painted with red nail polish. Why don't you go back and be a good young master? How good would that be? Shut up. Rong Rue clenched his phone and threw it on the ground. Rong Anna, it's none of your business. Rong Anna touched her nose, feeling a bit embarrassed. Well, it's my fault. Where is Aunt Rong Xian? Waiting for you at home, and my father and your parents. Chapter 268. However, Rong Rue soon stopped. Turning his head, he looked at Rong Anna and said, "Lend me your phone." You want to smash it again? Text me. Rong Anna reluctantly threw the phone to him. He quickly entered a string of numbers and wrote, "Menjing, I need to go home for a while. I will come back as soon as possible. Don't miss me, Rong Rue." After sending it, He deleted the message and returned it to Rong Anna. Then he got in the car and went back to the Rong family. Rong Anna did not have to look to know who the message was sent to. She sneered and said disdainfully, "You must have been kicked in the head by a donkey." When she got home, Nanny Rong had already left work. She entered the password and entered the door. He parked the car and followed. At the door he hugged her. Feeling his body close to hers, she blushed and rubbed against him. "We're still at the door. Be careful." Li Xiqing held her in front of him with one hand and pushed her into the door. Closing the door behind him, he whispered in her ear, "Who dares to look?" Xueqi blushed even more and wanted to escape. With a scream, she was already in the air. Her body was lifted, and she only felt dizzy. When she came back to herself, her back had fallen on the soft European-style leather sofa. Xueqi thought of the craziness yesterday and felt a little scared. She resisted and pushed him away. She tilted her head and panted, "Let's take a shower first." He couldn't help it, but she was so scared. It must be because of yesterday's intemperance that made her uncomfortable. Pulling her up, Li Xiqing held back his discomfort and zipped her up before he got up and said, "I'm going to take a shower first." Xueqi blushed, nodded, and whispered, "Be careful of the temperature." It was already autumn, and she would catch a cold if she took a cold shower. Seeing her like this, Li Xiqing wanted to press her down and ravage her. However, there was still a long way to go. If he scared her, it would be bad. Just after he went upstairs, Xueqi's phone rang. It was from Kingstown First Hospital. "Is this Miss Su?" "Yes. It's like this. A few days ago your friend, Mr. Lu's wound hasn't healed yet, and he needs continuous anti-inflammatory injections. However, Mr. Lu disregarded the doctor's advice and insisted on leaving the hospital. I hope you can persuade him. It wouldn't be good if the wound got infected." Lu Yihan was discharged by force? Why? I'm not sure, but he's not in good condition right now. He had a fever when he was discharged. I hope you can bring him back, or the consequences will be unimaginable. All right, I understand. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Hanging up the phone, she called Lu Yihan, but his phone was turned off. He was still running a fever when he was discharged. Was Lu Yihan a fool? Xueqi felt a little angry. This guy was really brainless. His phone was turned off, and he was discharged early. Xueqi's heart was in her throat. Her first reaction was to look for him. However, Li Xiqing always had an inexplicable hostility toward Lu Yihan. If he knew that she went to Lu Yihan, would he think too much? Would he be angry? Thinking of this, Xueqi felt a bit annoyed. Chapter 269. When he was discharged, he still had a fever. Was Lu Yihan an idiot? Xueqi felt a bit angry. This guy really had no brains at all. His phone was turned off and he was discharged early. Xueqi's heart was suddenly in her throat. Her first reaction was to go to him. However, Li Xiqing always had an inexplicable hostility toward Lu Yihan. If he knew that she went to Lu Yihan, would he think too much? Would he be angry? Thinking of this, Xueqi felt a bit annoyed. Thinking about it, she still went upstairs. In her room, she wrote a note and put it where he could see it. I have to go out for a while. I will come back early. Li Xiqing saw the note when he came out of the shower. Wiping his hair with a towel, he took his phone and dialed Xueqi's number. At this time, Xueqi had already gotten a taxi. When she received his call, she felt a bit guilty. What's the hurry? It's so late. Li Xiqing sounded a bit reproachful, but there was more pity in his words. Xueqi felt even more guilty and said, "One of my close friends broke up in love. I am going to comfort her. After all, she is good to me. Okay. Come back early." Li Xiqing did not ask more and hung up. He casually pulled over a robe and put it on, then walked into the study. In the study, there were hundreds of urgent emails that he needed to deal with. He turned on the computer and dealt with business in an orderly manner. It was past 10 p.m., and Xueqi was still not back. It had been more than 2 hours since she went out. He dialed another number, but it did not go through this time. On the second call, Xueqi picked up the phone. She sounded a bit breathless. "Hello. Where are you? I will pick you up. It was very late. Li Xiqing got up and was going to the bedroom to find clothes to change into. Xueqi quickly responded, It's okay. I will go back in a bit. Ah! She let out a scream, sounding a bit frightened. Li Xiqing vaguely felt something was wrong and asked, What's wrong? Nothing. My friend is drunk. I will go home after I take her home. Don't wait for me. You go to sleep first. I will pick you up. Give me the address. No need, I'll be quick. All right. Li Xiqing did not insist, but he still changed his clothes in case of an emergency. After changing, he went to the study again to deal with the unfinished work. He opened his mailbox, and a new email came in at the same time. The title was eye-catching. Mrs. Li's night meeting with her boyfriend. Mr. Li, are you cuckolded? His face suddenly darkening, Li Xiqing clicked on it and saw a small forest at first glance. Just in front of the bushes, Xueqi got out of a taxi, still wearing the clothes she had worn today, carrying a small bag. In the second photo, Xueqi was walking into a community, and this community. It was where Lu Yihan lived. There was a fire in Li Xiqing's heart. He tightened his grip on the mouse, his veins bulging. Pulling it down, she climbed the stairs. Then, Lu Yihan opened the door for her. He fell into her arms, and she helped him into the house. Heh, classmate? Has he fallen out of love? Drunk. He thought that the so-called classmate was a girl. Chapter 270. When she was on the phone, she gasped abnormally and exclaimed. When he did that to her. He suddenly became furious and waved his hand. The computer screen fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Xueqi. Xueqi went to his house and rang the doorbell, but no one answered the door. Then she searched all the places he might have gone but did not find Lu Yihan. Finally, she went back to his house. After pressing the doorbell twice, the door opened. As soon as the door opened, Xueqi smelled a strong smell of alcohol. She did not expect that Lu Yihan was still drinking like crazy when he was injured like this. When Lu Yihan saw her, he chuckled. Qianqian, it's actually Qianqian. Why are you here? Lu Yihan hit her with a drink, and Xueqi avoided it in disgust. However, the next second, Lu Yihan's body had fallen. She hurried to hold him and found that his body was shockingly hot at the moment. Xueqi was shocked and exclaimed, Do you want to die? Let's go, I'll take you to the hospital. Lu Yihan did not give up. Leaning on her shoulder, he took a greedy breath and said drunkenly, No, I don't want to go to the hospital. It's too depressing. I feel like I can die there. Xueqi did not notice his strangeness. Hearing what he said, she was a bit angry. Do you want to die? You are already injured and have a fever. Instead of resting, you are still drinking. Xueqi wanted to slap him, but no matter how she dragged him, he was holding the door handle tightly and could not move. She had to help him in. Closing the door, Xueqi rummaged through his room but could not find any cold medicine or antipyretics. Instead, she found a bottle of alcohol. She dipped a towel in the alcohol and wiped his face. It was horribly hot. Xueqi was a bit panicked and picked up her phone to call an ambulance. However, when she just picked up the phone, Lu Yihan suddenly grabbed her hand. Xueqi was startled and her phone fell to the ground. Qianqian, why didn't you wait for me? Lu Yihan was very drunk. Seeing Xueqi in front of him, his eyes were blurry and his wounds were aching. He smiled and said, Why didn't you wait for me? Is that man really that good? Li Xiqing, is he really that good? Xueqi took his hand away. Although he was unconscious, he was very strong. Her phone rang at her feet. She glanced at it and saw the word, husband, flashing. She wanted to bend down to pick up the phone, but Lu Yihan wouldn't let go. He could only use his foot to hook the phone. When he finally hooked it, the phone had already stopped ringing. Lu Yihan grabbed her hand and did not let go. He was talking nonsense with his eyes closed, and his whole body was red. The phone rang for the second time, and she quickly answered. After dealing with Li Xiqing, she dialed 120 and gave the address. Her hand was tightly held, so she simply sat on the ground and waited for the ambulance. However, the ambulance did not arrive. Instead, An unexpected person arrived. Chapter 271. When Xueqi saw Li Xiqing, she was surprised, but before she could react, he pushed her away. Li Xiqing squeezed in and immediately saw Lu Yihan lying on the sofa, all red. The anger in his heart was burning. He strode forward, grabbed Lu Yihan's collar, and punched him hard. Lu Yihan was hit so suddenly that he screamed in a daze and fell to the ground. Looking up, everything in front of him was a blur. Vaguely, he could see a black shadow walking toward him. Xueqi exclaimed, "What are you doing?" Lu Yihan was drunk and very confused. Hearing Xueqi's voice, he chuckled. "Qian." However, this intimate word quickly ignited the fury in Li Xiqing's heart. "Bastard!" Li Xiqing strode forward, lifted him up again, and punched him in the face. Lu Yihan's face quickly swelled. His teeth were almost knocked out, and blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. Lu Yihan fell to the ground again. His wound was torn open, and bright red blood oozed out. Xueqi's heart almost jumped out of her chest. She hugged Li Xiqing's waist with all her strength and cried, Don't hit me!" Li Xiqing clenched his fists and did not notice that the other side of Lu Yihan's body was bleeding.
Noticing that the person behind him was actually worried about the guy in front of him, the anger in his heart burned even more irrationally.
"Let go! Don't hit me, Xueqi sobbed and cried. "It's not what you think. I just don't want you to think too much, so I... let go." Li Xiqing did not want to listen to her explanation anymore. He forcibly pried her hand away and pushed her. Xueqi stumbled. When she came back to herself, Lu Yihan's scream was heard again. Li Xiqing's strength was great. As the third generation of the Red Army, his family had been very strict with him since he was a child. And now Lu Yihan was a seriously injured otaku. How could he be his opponent? She panicked and quickly got up. Without paying attention, she tripped over the sofa and fell to the ground. However, it was too late for her to stand up again. She crawled behind them, ignoring Li Xiqing's fists, and stood between them. In front of her, a big fist fell like a meteor. Xueqi had goosebumps all over her body. Looking at his fist, she did not dare to move. Li Xiqing did not expect her to suddenly come in. His fist full of explosive power stopped in the air. "Out of the way!" Xueqi's eyes were full of tears. Looking at his obviously angry face, she shook her head, and tears suddenly fell. She whispered, "You will kill him." Hearing that, Li Xiqing suddenly felt it was very funny, but his heart was cold. Cold. A bone-chilling aura emanated from him. Xueqi couldn't help feeling scared. Li Xiqing was so scary. Chapter 272. Xueqi felt that her jaw was almost broken. It hurt. However, at this moment, she had completely forgotten how to react. Li Xiqing's attitude toward her was exactly the same as his attitude toward her during the period when Grandpa died in her previous lifetime. He wanted to crush and kill her with his eyes. Xueqi's heart trembled. Looking at his stormy eyes, she couldn't help but think of him as the Li Xiqing in her previous lifetime. So terrible, so terrible. Noticing that Xueqi's body was trembling, Li Xiqing's heart felt like it had been pierced by thousands of arrows, hurting hysterically. She was afraid of him. She was still afraid of him. So, she would rather lie to him in the middle of the night and run out to be with Lu Yihan than be with him, right? Why? Li Xiqing's voice revealed a hint of imperceptible helplessness. What's so good about him? What's so good about this guy? Hearing this, Xueqi did not understand what he meant. Seeing her slightly confused expression, Li Xiqing's fingers tightened. Resisting the urge to destroy them both, he gritted his teeth and said, "Come home with me." Go home, and he would not pursue it. Go home, and he would pretend that nothing had happened. But when Xueqi heard this, she subconsciously looked behind her. Lu Yihan was seriously injured, had a high fever, and had been drinking. Now he was beaten like this by Li Xiqing. Seeing this, Li Xiqing's heart ached to the extreme. In front of him. Couldn't she pretend a little? Could it be that the love and affection she had shown him before were all fake? Or, did she like both of them and want both of them? Overwhelmed by anger, Li Xiqing's rationality was gone. Reaching out, he pulled her up from the ground and growled, "Let's go." Xueqi exclaimed and struggled to shout. Wait a minute, Yihan is injured and has a fever. Li Xiqing squeezed her hand tighter. What should he do? He really wanted to strangle Lu Yihan so that she could completely focus on him, right? However, he could not. Lu Yihan deserved to die, but she would hate him.
Resisting the urge to destroy him, he picked her up and walked to the door without saying a word. Wait, Mr. Li.
Xueqi exclaimed, subconsciously calling him by his nickname. He wanted to crush her in his arms. Walking faster, he quickly carried her downstairs. Xueqi panicked and was scared.
She yelled, if this goes on, he will die.
In order to save me.
Shut up.
He shoved her into the passenger seat, locked the door, and sat in the driver's seat.
Li Xiqing.
Xueqi roared. What did you call me? Li Xiqing finally couldn't take it anymore. He suddenly approached her and pressed her shoulder hard against the back of the chair, gritting his teeth. Her name was Lu Yihan, and she always called him intimately Yihan. As for him, he would always be Mr. Li, who was so unfamiliar with him that he felt cold. Such a difference, such treatment, the importance of their status was obvious. But why? He was clearly her husband. Before Xueqi had time to speak, she heard his gloomy words. It seems that you have not figured out who I am to you. Chapter 273. Xueqi exclaimed and subconsciously covered her body. However, there was a huge gap between the strength of a man and a woman. Xueqi's hand was pressed down, and Li Xiqing had already pressed her firmly against the back of the chair. Hot kisses covered the sky and the earth. Li Xiqing's strength was amazing, and he was so angry that he wanted to burn her instantly. Xueqi panicked and subconsciously wanted to resist. However, the more she wanted to break free, the more Li Xiqing wanted to press her down. Holding her down, Li Xiqing's movements became more and more fierce, wild and uncontrollable. The angry kiss deepened, and a faint taste of blood flowed between his teeth. She could not tell if it was hers or his. He pressed her hard, as if he wanted to crush her to death and destroy her. Xueqi was terrified. She had never seen Li Xiqing like this. He was bad-tempered. She had seen him angry, she had seen him grieve. When he yelled at her, gave her a cold face, and said mean things to her, she could run away and stay away. But why was he like this? Xueqi did not know what to do. Her bones were almost broken by him. It hurt a lot. But it was not even 1/10,000th of the pain in her heart. With tears running down her face, Xueqi's resistance became smaller and smaller, and she began to cry. Li Xiqing let go of her and sneered. You don't want to? Ha! His voice was filled with disdain and sarcasm. His cold tone was like a sharp blade that pierced through her. Here it comes again. The Mr. Li in her memory. Sadness quickly intertwined in her heart. Xueqi burst into tears. No! She did not want to see Li Xiqing like this. She did not want to see Mr. Li like this. It was too horrible. Hearing that, the coldness in Li Xiqing's eyes was comparable to the winter snow. He picked her up, pushed his thigh between her legs, and forced her body up. Pinching her face with his big hand, he gritted his teeth and growled. Don't what? Xueqi stopped crying, gritting her teeth and shaking her head. You don't want me? Am I right? His voice was full of helplessness. You don't want me, but you can accommodate another man. His voice was getting lower and lower. Xueqi's eyes widened. Looking at him, her heart became more and more empty. His voice was very low and distant. Don't you think it's too cruel, Xueqi? The large hand didn't stop. A pair of cold, deep and serene eyes locked onto her, like the stars in the pitch-black night sky, vast and beautiful. But it was indescribably far away. She was scared and wanted to escape, but he was faster. He pinned her down and restrained her hand. Xueqi looked at him, horrified. Are you crazy? We are on the side of the road. Ah! Xueqi could not escape and was not prepared at all. Li Xiqing felt a little uncomfortable and lowered the chair. Seeing her painful look, he was relieved. So they didn't, however. Xueqi struggled even more and yelled, No, it hurts. Get out. Realizing that nothing had happened between her and Lu Yihan, Li Xiqing was relieved and whispered, Relax. Feeling wronged, Xueqi cried, Li Xiqing, you pervert. Chapter 274. Xueqi shivered and hugged him tightly, whispering, "Someone is coming." Hide ah. He did not care. Holding her butt, he sped up. "You are crazy." Someone, The voice behind the car was getting closer and closer, and a girl's voice came. "He is also a poor guy. I heard that he was injured. The fever was because the wound was infected. It was already dangerous, and he was beaten up." "Ha ha ha. Beaten up? Isn't it? But he deserved it. He drank so much. Fortunately, there is a girl to take care of him." They must have had a fight. The man seemed to hate the girl, and the girl stuck to him. But the clothes that the girl is wearing are so nice. They are all luxury goods. Ah, her skin is so white, and she looks so good in red. The two girls didn't notice anything strange when they passed by the black Maybach that was moving steadily. Under the narrow dark seat, Xueqi was obviously relieved. Lu Yihan lived in 203. Listening to the person they were talking about, it should be Lu Yihan. Thank God, they finally offended him. However, the girl in red they were talking about sounded like that girl. "Did you Lily come here in the middle of the night?" Just as she was deep in thought, she felt the thing that had just weakened with great difficulty suddenly swell up again. Li Xiqing knelt on one knee, pressed her on the seat, and whispered, "Xueqi, give me a child." It was said that once a woman had a child, she would stop being wild. But when Xueqi heard this, her eyes immediately widened. Before she could react, her lips were sealed again, and she could not say a word. When Lu Yihan's operation was over, it was already past 2 p.m. Yu Lily saw the light in the emergency room went off and quickly rushed up, grabbing the sleeve of the doctor who had just walked out, and asked, "Doctor, how is it?" The doctor took off his mask and said, "Fortunately, he can be saved. But don't be so ridiculous in the future. Even a body made of iron can't stand it." Yu Lily let out a sigh of relief and quickly entered the intensive care unit that Lu Yihan had been transferred from. He was still unconscious, and the bruises on his face made him look particularly wretched. Yu Lily's heart ached. She reached out and gently touched his wound. Her eyes soon turned red. "How could this happen? If I know who it is, I will definitely avenge you." Lu Yihan vaguely heard Yu Lily's voice. He frowned and opened his eyes. As expected, he saw Yu Lily at a glance. With disgust in his eyes, Lu Yihan turned his head and avoided her hand. His voice was a little cold. "Why are you still here?" Yu Lily's heart felt cold. She sneered disdainfully. "Do you think I want to be here? I'm here to ask you for surgery fees and hospitalization fees. That's a total of 8,000, remember? Oh, give me your account number, and I will transfer it to you. If there is nothing else, you can leave now." Lu Yihan's voice was cold, and Yu Lily's heart was even colder. However, he still had a look of disdain on his face. "Who the F***CK wants to care about you? Damn it, I'm such a busybody. If I had known earlier, I would have let you die there." Then, he seemed to think of something and asked, "Who beat you like this? It's so cruel." "It's none of your business. Hey, don't be so stingy. Maybe I can avenge you." Chapter 275. Hearing this name, Yu Lily widened her eyes and looked at him incredulously. "How is it possible, Li Xiqing? Xueqi's husband? Why did he hit you?" Lu Yihan smiled and asked, "You don't believe me?" No. Yu Lily quickly waved her hand. "I just feel strange. Why did he hit you?" Even Lu Yihan himself did not know the reason, so how could he explain it to her? Lu Yihan's head was throbbing. His wounds were much better after treatment, and his body was not as hot as before. However, he was still very uncomfortable. Too lazy to explain, Lu Yihan waved his hand and said, "You go back. I will transfer the surgery fee to you. It's too late, and it's not convenient for a girl to stay here." "It's okay." It didn't matter. But before Yu Lily finished her words, her phone rang. It was Ming. This was his fourth call that night. Pursing her lips, Yu Lily did not want to talk to him. Turning off the phone, she turned her head and found that Lu Yihan had closed his eyes, looking very tired. Reaching out to feel his temperature, Yu Lily's heart ached a little. She went out and asked the nurse on the night shift for alcohol and a towel to cool him down. Looking at Louis Han's face, Yu Lily's heart was indescribably empty. If she did not have a relationship with Oh Ming for money, would she still have a chance with him? Looking down, Yu Lily regretted her decision. Now she was like a canary imprisoned by Oh Ming, trapped in a luxurious cage. It looked good, but there was no freedom at all. How she envied Xueqi. Xueqi was simple and kind, completely different from her, a vulgar and hateful gold digger. Her life was also impeccable. What made Yu Lily even more envious was that she had Louis Han's love. Great. Staying with Louis Han all night, Yu Lily did not know when she fell asleep. When she was woken up by the nurse, it was already past 9 in the morning. Louis Han was still sleeping. Stretching, Yu Lily stood up and turned on her phone. As soon as she turned it on, the phone rang. More than 50 missed calls, more than 100 text messages. Damn, King retarded. Yu Lily was speechless. As soon as she finished cursing, she received a call from that person. Hey! Yu Lily sounded impatient. Hurry up! Oh Ming was silent for a moment, then he sneered and said, Yu Lily, have your guts grown big? How dare you turn off your phone? What's wrong with turning off my phone? Who doesn't need to sleep? Yu Lily said matter-of-factly. Where are you going to sleep? Who are you sleeping with? Please, Mr. O, I'm not your girlfriend. Why do you care so much? If you're not my girlfriend, then whose girlfriend are you? At most, we're just a money and sex transaction. Why are you so into it? Last night, I didn't want to do business with you. Did you have to be so persistent? Oh Ming was a little angry. Immediately, get your ass to the Shishan Villa area. I know. Damn it, you pervert. Yu Lily hung up the phone but did not leave. Instead, she checked Louis Han's temperature. After confirming that his fever was gone, she asked the nurse to take care of him and walked away. However, just after Yu Lily walked out, Louis Han had already opened his eyes and looked in the direction of her departure. He had long heard that she was a mistress of a young rich man, but he did not expect it to be true. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.